Sit back and relax while you listen to Train Kickers podcast. I'm Dave, and along with my co-hosts Stan and Steve, we're going to take you all around the world of miniature wargaming. On tonight's episode, we have a friend of the show, Sean, on to discuss running events. We go over the ins and outs, as well importantly, the do's and don'ts of running hobby and community-focused building events. The intent is to help anyone looking to host community builders and to get some actionable items out of this. Also at the top, I just want to quickly say for anyone listening on whatever podcatcher you like to, or if you're watching on YouTube, to please consider giving us reviews or subscribing. We've been really pleased with how things have been growing, but we know those are the two things that really help get us noticed and get the word out. And now, on to the show. All right, how are you on this fine Monday evening here, gentlemen?
I'm good. We just got back to school after spring break. No one wanted to be back, and tomorrow's state testing.
That's
so
why
I
they didn't
dare
want to
say
be back.
we are. I dare say we are as angry and as tired and as pissed off as the entire district can be. So it's great. It's great. I love it.
What I find odd about that, so I mean, we had our spring break was a few weeks back, and I always tell my students like, oh, it's spring break. You guys aren't going to do work during spring break. I'm not going to do work during spring break. So I'm not going to give you like a test as soon as you come back. Like, that's cruel. Meanwhile, your state testing is 2 days or the day after they come back. Like that feels like it's a setup for poorer scores.
State testing that, teachers get evaluated on based, if the students do badly, that means that we are bad teachers. Of course,
Of course.
That's of course, it's always that's how it works. Oh my God. And Steve, how are you doing?
Doing all right. I took a little power nap there to catch up on sleep because I definitely did not get enough this weekend. 40K team tournament. Woo! Go Team Blue Steel. I mean, it was a good time. It was just a lot of 40K for any given 72-hour period. And how about you, Sean? How you doing?
Oh, it's pretty good. This is actually my weekend. Gonna spend a lot of time running around with the kids and, just generally trying to get as much enjoyment as possible out of that 48 hours. Managed to even build and paint some Zone Mortalis terrain.
Nice.
Nice. For everyone who does not know, Sean is a member of a local community who's run a couple 30K events for us. The first one that I went to was his Battle of Prospero event up at Kerwan's Game Store, and it was an absolute blast. And more recently, he ran a Istvan 3 event. Istvan 5 event. My
Yes,
apologies.
is fun, but
Istvan 5 event down at Mythicos Studios in Mawa. And this coming weekend, possibly earlier than the future weekend for anyone listening,
So released by
he's running
Friday.
another have a Zomor Talis event going on up at Toywiz in Nanuet.
So that'll
yeah,
be what's the
local
actual date of
store.
that?
Oh, that would be on the 30th.
30th. Got it.
Yes. Hopefully, we'll have everybody in there ready to roll dice around noon. But, well, you know how nerds are. We'll see how it goes.
I know a guy who listens to this podcast who might show up half an hour late because getting his hair done. There's a reason we call him Pretty Lou.
He sounds like a fancy man, though.
Lou is absolutely going to be getting his hair done before the event.
So
Look, if you're going to kill someone, you should look your best. It's a very important day in their life.
Absolutely.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
So my only question about that is, does the hair look good? I mean,
yeah,
okay.
He's always fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so it's going to a good cause then.
Oh yeah, no,
definitely.
He looks fantastic.
Well dressed, well groomed.
Yeah.
It's just fun to bust his balls a little.
Oh man.
All right, so why don't we?
So Dave.
Yeah, but we'll do something else for a quick second since this is Sean's first time on the podcast. So, do you want to give us like a little bit of just maybe a hobby background? How long you've been in the hobby? When did you get started? Just something, like that.
Oh goodness. So I got into nerdery at 7 years old when I found a Magic the Gathering booklet on the floor of my school bus and hunted for a couple of months till I found a store that sold Magic cards because, they actually used to have stories in there about like Bob casting lightning bolt at Susan, and it sounded super cool.
I remember those stories.
And there in the store was second edition Warhammer 40K, and they were just coming out with fifth edition Warhammer Fantasy a couple years later. And both of those immediately caught my interest. 40K at the time also had fancy pamphlets with a short story, an example army list, and background fluff for all the different factions at the time. I still have some of those. Anyway, I was hooked. I love dinosaurs, so I got into Lizardmen. I really enjoyed the fluff for the Eldar, so I jumped into those. And shoot, 24 years later, I'm still collecting Eldar, and I still have a bunch of square-based lizards sitting around. But in the meantime, I've done everything from Starfleet battles and BattleTech to War Machine. I like games that have a good bit of crunch to them, but I've found over the years that the most important part of any game is actually the community around you. You can have the most fun game in the world, and playing against a bunch of dicks means you're not going to have a good time. You can have a real bear of a game and find a good way to laugh about it with some good friends.
What games do you currently play? Like what's in your active roster?
Well, I am actually in a Age of Sigmar Path to Glory campaign
Nice.
because I convinced a bunch of the local guys to play Horus Heresy with me, and a lot of them actually played Age of Sigmar, so it was kind of a tit for tat setup. Heresy has definitely been my main thing. I try to give every edition of 40K a good try, but eighth and ninth haven't really caught my interest. And BattleTech is a once in a while for me.
BattleTech's a once in a while for most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone keeps coming back to it just for a little bit. It's that
Um,
taste.
Now, as far as recent painting projects, I recently finished up an Adeptus Titanicus mana pool and was one of a couple of people to get a game in. What was that? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
Was it
I think
oh my god. Wow, it
3.
was.
I just finished the last model for a Dystopian Wars fleet that will now go into a box and never be seen again.
What army?
Danes, I've got
Okay.
about 5,000 points of Denmark.
Oh, wow. I got
So I don't know.
Covenant of
Yeah, I don't think I've
Antarctica,
ever.
but I don't touch them.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think we ever I ever told you this, Shay, but me and Dave were actually vanguards for Spartan back in the day.
Yeah, we were.
Shit.
Yep.
Yeah. We each had two
Um,
Firestorm fleets. We both had dystopian fleets. Dan actually picked up the Halo miniatures as well.
Yes,
You
I
had some
did.
of those.
Yes, I did.
I was
Oh, Spartan games.
not that anyone ever talks about it anymore, but I want to say it was maybe, I could be wrong on the time frame, 2-3 weeks ago. I was watching Angry Joe Show's Twitch channel, and they were doing Halo fleet battles. They're actually playing
No
that, and I was
way.
like, oh, it dredges
No.
up some memories.
Wait, wait, wait. From like years ago
Yeah,
or
yeah, it was that one. Yeah,
recently?
the old defunct one. Yeah.
Oh. But this wasn't like a recent video. This
No,
was a
no,
video
this
from a year
video
ago.
no, they played it like literally 2 weeks ago. He does.
What?
I don't remember which day of the week it is. It's either like probably a Tuesday or a Thursday.
Hold on.
But he does like a miniature, because he does miniature war games and stuff like that. Like they're the ones who did the Street Fighter sort of board game. I guess it's technically a board game or fighting game, whatever you call it. They're the ones who did that. But yeah, so they'll do miniatures games. So they happen to randomly choose that game. I don't know why. 40K is one of the ones they've been doing more recently. They've been getting into that. But yeah,
Who
they
is
just
this?
did that on
I'm trying to
random.
find him right now.
I
Well,
mean,
Angry
that's
Joe Show.
actually really, it's really cool that they're doing that, like just a random peek at history.
Yeah. Because I remember watching it for a bit. I was like, oh, is that what they're talking about? I looked at it, I was like, yeah, okay, that's what they're looking at. I don't know if they've always had it or if someone sent it to them or what, but because I didn't get a chance to watch it for too long. But
Huh?
yeah, but all right, sounds good. So why don't we'll move on to a bit of hobby, and I think Dan, before I made sure we did some intros there, was going to ask me about the hobby that I've been doing. It's the same hobby I'm doing right now, which is working on flayed ones. So, for anyone who is not aware, and depending on the army you play, you need to be aware of this, is Games Workshop, they did this, I want to say it was last year in the UK. It might have even been before that, or started a little bit before that, but it's just coming out now in the US. And it's their Imperium magazine. So this is a non-hobby store magazine. You can find it at like Barnes and Nobles or any sort of large bookstore style resellers like that, or even like a Walmart probably. I know in some spots people can find them there, but apparently one of the more common spots is Barnes and Noble. And what's nice about this, so the whole purpose of the magazine is you're supposed, theoretically, the person subscribes to it. There's, I want to say it's like 80 issues across the thing. And each issue is meant to introduce you to things in terms of 40K. So it gives you either with that issue, it's not like a bound book. It's essentially pages kind of stuck together, but it has, a bit of fluff on a unit, has some rules about them, tells you the assembly instructions if it gives you models, it gives you like a little scenario to play with those models. Oh, these guys have this cool rule. Here's something you haven't learned before. Here's what the rule is. Here's how it works. Why don't you use it now in this thing? But what's nice about it, so the magazine itself is, US is about $14. But it comes with either a single sprue of something, or it'll come with, say, some paints or anything like that. You can actually look it up. I know Goonhammer as well as like Fohammer, all of those guys have actually shown the things that we do currently know and went through it, but they come out with sprues of different products. So it's mainly Space Marines are on there, Sisters of Battles, Adeptus Mechanicus, Necrons, and then some terrain. So the one I just picked up, it was, I want to say, issue 16. And it's 5 flayed ones on the issue. So whatever they give you is what they could fit on one sprue. So it's the same sprue you buy out of the box for flayed ones. The difference is the flayed one box is 50. This was 14. So you can get over 3 times as many for the exact same price. Some of them come with like paints. The idea is usually they give you models and then they give you some paints that will go well with those models and some brushes and all. Like the other option, the other one you can find right now as we record this, like later part of April, one of them had a sprue of the 5 assault intercessors, again 14. They've had different Primaris captains and things like that. I know later next month, so in about another week, there's essentially the magazine's supposed to be weekly. They usually release it almost all at once per month, but there's about 4 episodes. There's supposed to be 4 issues a month. I think next month's has Immortals. So again, it's a sprue of 5, where normally that's like a $50 box. So it's $14. Some of the characters, $30, $40 characters, $14. So if you're someone collecting some of those armies, it is absolutely worth keeping an eye on and maybe going out to some of these local stores to see if they are carrying it or if they have it currently. They're around issue 17, I think I want to say right now, is the current one. But so I picked that up, so I was able to get 25 flayed ones for under the cost of honestly the cost of like 7 or maybe 10 of them. So I just been working on these guys. I got a lot of my other Necrons done, and that's where I am right now. I'm trying to look up to see what's coming up next. The next issue is the Technomancer Cryptech. That should be out next month. Muturum Armored Containers are the same month. Then some paints. I wouldn't do it for the paints. I wouldn't trust that they're not dry as shit. And then they're actually doing some Skitarii Rangers is the issue after it. So 5 Skitarii Rangers and all. So some things are better deals than others, but some of them are expensive sprues for near nothing, honestly. So that's what I've been doing. I've been cruising random shops.
We'll point out after seeing Dave's Necrons, they actually look really good. I love the way he did that.
Yeah, I gotta post them up spots.
They look really, really nice.
I like I did not want to do metal. So I will post these up in spots so people can find them, but I didn't want to do metal because that bores me, especially on these. That's far too common. So I did a bluish gray with a sort of off-white dry brush to it. And then I'm doing non-metallic metal style oranges on weapons, which takes forever to paint, but I do like the way it comes out. And then just doing a snow base with that same sort of off-white gray. And then I have the AK Scenics snow. They were out of their baubles or whatever they call it. So I do have the ones from Gale Force 9 to put over the top to actually give it a little bit more of a snow look rather than that sort of flat look. But there'll be more hopefully done this Friday for gaming with. We'll see. We'll see how far I get done with all these guys. But
I'm not going to be doing more.
no, because you left your hobby knife at the shop.
I left my glue.
Oh,
Hobby
sorry,
knife is fine.
glue. Yeah, that's it. Well, either way.
I'm so mad.
Go tomorrow and get your glue. After those kids
I'm
are done
gonna have
testing.
Have like 8 bottles of glue lying around your house. Like you buy one, you forget where you left it. I'll pick up another one. 4
Glued
bucks.
120 blood letters. 100 motherfucking 20 blood letters.
Well,
100
that's a self-inflicted pain, sir.
That is true. You chose this on yourself.
120.
That's more of a Slanesh move than a corn move.
Instead of being sad you don't have your glue, you could be huffing paint and painting those blood letters. You
I
big
could
What?
be.
Acrylic paints are technically plastic, right? You could assemble your models with acrylic paint. Just slap it on, hold it together, and pray for the best.
Oh my God.
It would last for at least 2 hours.
So speaking of
Yeah,
hobbies,
tell us of your blood letter woes.
yeah, no, okay. So no, I started my demon army finally after saying I'd started for so long.
Yeah.
I'm leaving the dragon for the end though because I'm just gonna look it in the case and it's gonna be pretty in the case for a while. And I'll do it when I do it. No, so I started painting. So very much like Sean's running the ZM event, I was already bringing 2 armies to it. I was bringing my Mechanicum and my Custodes. I was bringing traders and loyalists, depending on who shows up, because sometimes there's more loyalists, so you need a trader. And sometimes there's more traders, so you need a loyalist. So I like to play both sides as a just in case someone needs more side. But I was also like, you know what? Let me bring a third loner army, and this kind of gave me the willpower to paint. 1250 points, right? Yeah, 1250 points for the Zone Brutalis event, and so I painted 50 blood letters, which are basically lesser demons in 30k. I painted 6 brutes, which are brutes. That's what they are. Brutes are brutes. And then I painted a demon prince because sadly in Zone Mortalis there's a base limit. And demons only have 1 hero that fits in that limit. That's a 32 mil base. Because every other character, I think there's only 4 things that fit in ZM from the demons list. Because everything else is 130 millimeters or larger as a base size. And so because we're doing Mournival, which is a type of rule set, I think it was made in Australia. Sean can correct me on that one. It was the Aussies that made Mournival.
Yes, yeah, they're the big Australian group, though there's a
Okay.
couple other creators from there.
But yeah, no, so we're using Mournival rules, which allows custom characters. So I talked about it with Sean, and so I was able to fit my Demon Prince, because he's on a 60 mil base, essentially. And I made a Mournival demon character for him. So it's essentially 6 brutes, or 2 sets of 3 brutes, I think 40 or 50 blood letters. No, it's 12, 12, 10. So 34 blood letters, although I painted 50, I don't know why. And a demon prince, and I think they came out nice. I honestly love the way they look because I try to copy. So I hate the way GW does core demons, and this is probably going to get me a lot of flack. I think I kind of hate the way. I don't like how bright red they are. They look goofy red to me.
Okay.
Which is fine for some things, like orcs being goofy green, fine. But these are supposed to be like demons, like fucking out of your nightmare, crazy, coming out of congealed blood kind of nonsense, weeping sores in reality. Demons. And so that kind of goofy looking bloodletter red never sat well with me. And I remember in Heresy, specifically the Forge World Brutes, the way that GW painted them was exceptionally like a dark, dark red with like blended blues and blended blacks. Um, and I fell in love with that color scheme, and it looks amazingly like corn. So I just kind of copied it, to be quite honest, to an extent, But that darkish red blue is something I was looking for. So yeah, no, I definitely just kind of copied it, and that's what I came up with.
There's nothing
And
wrong with
so they're kind
copying
of like a
schemes.
yeah, no, and it was actually kind of cool because there was a YouTube video of the guy who does the blending for the red into the black. Because I didn't do the, so what I did was I instead of doing a red and black body, I just did a red body. I think I used
Use contrast paint,
Flesh
right?
Terror is red.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, that was the other thing. Yeah, the whole army is 98% contrast paint. I finished like in 4 days. It was amazing. But yeah, it's blood. It's Flesh Terror is red. The horns, while it was still wet, I did Black Templars black on the horns, and then I dry brushed black where the horns were to kind of blend it into the body. Um, I used black and then Tamiya red on the swords to give it this weird kind of visceral gore look. And honestly, that was it. They came, and yeah, they just kind of really dark red, like very scary look. They look very scary compared to the way they look in the web page. And I'm just happy they came out that way. Yeah.
Nice. All right. How about you, Steve? Have you been up to anything?
Yes. So like I mentioned earlier, I went to a team tournament this weekend, and because it's a team tournament, I have to actually kind of try at least a little bit to win my games. So I did have to be the bad person that brought a Crusher Stampede army for my team.
Last hurrah.
Um, exactly, exactly. In my hands, it's not overpowered. I can tell you that much.
Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, I did do some weird stuff that I thought was like, you know what? Let me do this weird thing because no one else will be doing this, and I'm gonna make someone go, wait, what? I'm so confused. So I brought a Turvagon into the list to spawn 10 Termagants into the list. So I'd be like, hey, look, I have 5 up invulnerable save Gaunts. Isn't that amazing? They're not even objective secured. People are like, what the fuck? But in my round 4 game, I fought against the top Chaos player at the event, who had this Thousand Suns list. The dude's a great dude, super chill, but oh my god, that list gets I think 26 Cabal points to spend.
Ooh.
Whatever psychic powers he wants, he more or less gets. Essentially, is the way the army works. But like he made the mistake of killing 9 out of 10 Termagants. So the next turn, I had a full 10 Gaunts again. I just sat them on an objective, like, okay, I have an objective, and you're not going to dedicate the resources to pull my models off of it. That said, the rest of my army didn't really hold up to like 80,000 smites a turn. So, don't know if it was worth it. But it was fun. Anyone who knows my army, if you've seen it once, you will always immediately know I'm at an event because it's a very distinct army. It is an armor cast based slash second edition based tiered army. So I have the Malefactor as the Turvagon. I have I have the Horror Spec as the Exocrines, Adept at Home, because those are not nearly as points effective as Scythe Hero Duels. So I borrowed some Scythe Hero Duels. My army was not a unified color scheme, and it made me very sad. But hey, I won one of my games.
How many rounds was it?
5 rounds total.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a really fun time. I went. It was at the Palisades Mall. I haven't been there since I want to say Christmas 2013, and before that it was Conflict GT in 2012, back in 5th edition 40k. Good times, good times. But yeah, no, had a lot of fun. Every round was in one way or another. Either I learned something or I laughed about something. So I think that's a good sign for an overall satisfaction level of the event. Yeah, BFS, they run a good show.
Nice. All right. How
Oh
about you,
yeah,
Sean?
so
Have you been
hobby
up to
wise, I
anything?
had to
Good.
get.
Sorry.
Yep. Hobby wise,
Well,
I had to get stuff done.
I have been
Mainly.
waffling a lot about the creation of some demo armies for Heresy. Um, simply because I have so many armies for Heresy, and adding more of them for the sake of teaching other people how to play the game kind of feels like a step in the wrong direction. So instead of allowing indecisiveness to rule my day, I have painted up about, let's see here, they're on the shelf right there, a dozen Titans and a few Knights for Adeptus Titanicus. Um, and that's been kind of scratching the hobby itch. Otherwise, there's been a lot of, like I mentioned earlier, Zone Mortalis terrain. I'd been kind of, again, I have a problem with determining colors sometimes. My mind goes to, well, what color would it be? And in a lot of cases, the answer is, well, whatever was convenient for them at the time, given the local resources available, which doesn't actually help in a science fiction or fantasy setting where God only knows what that could be. And so I end up spinning like a hamster on a treadmill for a while. But this event that's coming up really kind of kicked my butt into gear and said, we're just going to figure it out, and we're just going to go with red doors and gray and or metallic walls. Kind of did some fades in and out with that. Uh, and I purposely made the hallway sections with the doors on them red topped as well. So there's a visual cue when you're not down at the level of the board as to where the exits are.
That's a good idea. I like that. Anything else,
And so,
gentlemen, for hobby?
I think we're good.
Okay. So since we have a variety of other things to talk about tonight, I don't think we're going to go too much into news. But especially when we do sort of more eclectic episodes, we like to keep the news a little bit one shorter, but maybe a little less targeted. Um, so who wrote about the new Chaos Reveal Weird Demon thing with all the space? That's
That
got
was
to be
me.
Dan's writing, right?
That would have to be Dan. That has to be
Yeah, that's
Dan.
very true.
Yeah, no, that was me. Because I don't
Okay.
know if you saw it, but
I did.
and it's weird because it doesn't show up in the video. So they were promoting their May 4th to 7th GW Online Open Day, right?
is this
So
the
I'm watching.
silhouette?
What happened?
I'm asking if this is the silhouette.
Yeah, that's the silhouette, but
Yes.
it's not in the video.
Oh, it's
It's
not a
not?
chaos demon.
I
I'll
did.
bet you $10, Dan. I bet you $10 that that's the Jabberwock, because Age of Sigmar is doing a whole thing about being on the plane of beasts, and the Beastmen are getting some new stuff, some encouragement, and so on. All their factions are getting stuff, and a model that hasn't really been available for a while is the Jabberwock and the Jabberslythe. And if you look at that
Interesting.
thing off to the model's left that hangs down there,
Yeah.
that's a Jabberwock head, and it's two little mustaches hanging down.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
And
right.
I don't think Demon. They could surprise us. Still could be. I don't, just because it. I would think with the demon there should be more up above the wings. Like if you look where the wings are, for all intents and purposes, this model looks like essentially it would have got its head cut off if it was a demon. Where yeah, like you said, the Jabberslythe or something like that. That is a lot more big wings,
Okay.
but more of down towards the ground for the model.
All right. All right. But point is, yeah, I was just kind of really interested because it does look really, really cool. The wings alone look really, really cool to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
So for anyone who doesn't know, it's supposed to be Wednesday the 4th is 40K. They're going to reveal some stuff. Age of Sigmar is Thursday on the 5th. Friday is all their little games or the little box games. So, Kill Team, Warcry, Necromunda. And then on that Saturday is Horus Heresy.
Open day Horus Heresy too, or not open day. A lot of information will be revealed then, which is nice.
Oh, is that the day they were doing they invited some people to play the game early?
Yep,
Okay.
that is it. Yep, that's the day they invited people.
Okay.
Now
and they
again,
always
go
they
ahead.
always do their biggest reveal for last, and
Yes.
we all know what's coming. So
So if we
it
think
just
that's Sigmar, I don't. I honestly, I'm not sure what they're supposed to reveal for anything else. I haven't seen any inkling one way or the other of what these other things should be.
so from what I hear in the rumor mill, Warcry is apparently pushing a second edition.
Huh.
Now, Kill Team just had a major release
Yes.
and a new edition starting, so it would make sense that that is probably some new kill teams because they're standardizing those rosters quite a bit. And then, of course, Necromunda means Ashways because
Yes.
they've got to put that out there.
Yeah, because it did just. The only other thing I know that they showed about that was that they've finally, they've shown some of the prices for the big box and everything like that. Still waiting on that train though. Still don't got that train.
I think we were talking about in the chat, because I know we were debating how much that terrain box is going to be, at least for Necromunda, and I think someone in the chat was like, GW shops are estimating around $300 was
They,
what we were saying.
they showed it to be 300. I saw it on
Oh,
Belvoir
they did.
Souls
Oh,
earlier.
okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. Never mind. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. What it was shown. Now it's terrain with models and all. It has some of those grasshopper guys and all of that stuff. But yeah, it was 300. So.
Interesting.
All right, so you guys all do Heresy. What's the prediction for Heresy then? Are they showing us models? Are they giving us just more rules unleaked? Or what do you guys actually think they're going to do?
I I think they'll be releasing like actual rules. I'm hoping, or at least confirming the rules that maybe were already leaked.
If
But
they were going for a June release and they have all of these influencers and YouTubers and so on there to actually play the game, it would make sense if this was kind of like the start of the uh, actual rules releases. We've been seeing some of the models. We've gotten a little bit of announcement about PDF units being a continuing thing. I really think that they are most likely going to actually be like, hey, here's a game of heresy. And we probably won't get any of the nitty gritty crunch that I know so many of us really want to be biting into. But I'm sure that we'll see some of the rumored things like maybe reactions or changes to reserves or how you build an army.
I would, it would, any other company might actually like give you rules that day. Like, hey, here's the preview. We know you guys want it. Hey, here are the rules. GW doesn't do rules for free. So I think from that day, we are going to see a lot. I think not that necessarily going to hold anything back intentionally, but I don't think they're going to give you enough that if you're not watching the leaks, that you'd actually be able to play the game. Though, I think they're going to show something off or something new in plastic that they have not shown yet. That's my thought.
oh yeah, that was the other big
Hopefully
news we should probably
special
talk about.
weapons for the beakies, because right now it's just bolters, not even bolt pistol for the sergeant.
Although fun news, they did release the plastic Spartan news,
Yes.
and that's going to be sexy. That already caught like 4 or 5 people's heads to play. So
Well, and there's a price sheet that's been going around, and who knows if it's accurate or not, but it talks about plastic Sakarans, plastic Predators, plastic Rhinos, and limited release boxes of a Predator Squadron. Um, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of plastic heresy that we haven't seen
yeah,
any inkling of yet.
I have
and
not
honestly,
actually seen
yeah.
that the sheet with the prices. That's interesting.
That was
Curious.
leaked, not leaked, but that, yeah, I wouldn't leak is the right. That was leaked like a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
What's it?
Um,
Did it say anything about what the big box is supposed to be? That's the one thing I'm most curious about.
oh,
Um,
I don't remember.
Let me take a quick look. I think I have
Okay.
it in the chat around here. But I remember, for example, that the Predator Squadron was reported to be clocking in at 107 pounds.
That's
Um,
not bad.
which, yeah, no, that certainly caught my attention.
Only what,
Um,
$120-ish.
180.
they
Maybe
were
Well,
talking.
$107
$180.
is not 180. Get out of here. Is it
Well,
They
really?
in GW math it is.
Yeah.
Hold
Remember,
on.
it's
Now I'm
never a
looking.
direct conversion.
The straight conversion at right now, I think would be like 120.
Yeah, the
But
120.
then,
They never do straight
if our
conversions.
dollar is stronger, they raise the price to make up the difference. If our dollar is weaker, they raise the price to make up the difference. Like no matter what, the raise prices to make up a difference. That
GW,
does not
please.
exist.
Yeah.
They have to get ahead of inflation. So
GW,
if it is
please.
120 straight conversion, to be closer to like 180.
Yeah. Have you not
But
noticed
that
that?
makes
That the
sense though,
prices are
because
never
it's
perfect.
$60 a predator.
Well, you would want some savings. That's why. So I was hoping for our
That is
140.
savings because the individual predator's probably $75. Looking at this
No,
chart.
Well, wait, because
oh,
here's the thing. According to the rumors, which are, of course, just rumors, and we could all be off base, but there are rumors that predators are going up to squadrons of 5.
oh my
And if
God.
you could get 5 predators for $200, say, that would actually be a significant savings even over the current plastic predator.
Hmm.
Possibly too good to be true. So, grain of salt.
You could
It'd be
also choose
nice.
10 extra cents for not having to click 5 times on add to cart. Who
Oh my God.
knows?
That's called the Oh my God. What are they
One
called?
click
One click
bundle.
bundles.
One click bundles. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's remember they don't necessarily save you money if they don't want to. Having said that, though, if they really want this game to do well, they need to be saving people money.
No, they have
All
to.
right.
What I imagine is you have a lot of great release, like great savings on drop, and then in a year raise it like they usually do.
Yeah. Or
Look
just
at
discontinue
Adeptus
those
Titanic.
boxes. So, did you find something?
Nope, still looking through.
Okay.
Sorry, a
It's fine.
lot of ground. But
Oh, I'm sure.
no, in reference to the prices, early release versus later prices, I think Adeptus Titanic has really showed that with its maniple boxes. Those are still in high demand, and now people are selling them for like $5 less than the combined total of the contents.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one, the first Titanicus box, I think is what got me. Yeah, that's the one that got me in.
The
The
Grandmaster
Warlord.
one?
No, 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 no. Oh,
Okay,
second
good.
one.
The Axiom then. The
Yeah,
Axiom
yeah,
maniple.
the Warlord, the Reaver, and the two
And the two
Warhounds. I
Hounds.
bought two of those boxes, and that's how I got my Furians. And I just added from there.
I mean,
Titanicus is a game that, past the Grandmaster box, they have treated very nicely up until the War Master.
yeah,
Then they kind of got on my less than absolute love side because they still have not dropped separate weapon sprues for it, which I think they really should.
agreed. I, you know, okay, we're in a hobby. There's a lot of FOMO and all these concerns, but I do think if you are strongly considering heresy, if these boxes look good to you, I think they're worth trying to pick up or pre-order or whatever way you want to do that. Because honestly, I think in like a year's time, a lot of the boxes that are going to come out just won't be a thing anymore.
Yeah, they got rid of the Titanicus really good Axiom maniple, and they replaced it with a shittier one, in my opinion. The
Yep.
third one wasn't bad. The one with like the Warbringer. Yes, the one with the Warbringer wasn't bad. Um, but and I honestly think with all this plastic coming out, it's just going to attract so many people. It's
So
just gonna.
here I'm seeing something about the launch box, Age of Darkness, Horus Heresy launch box. They're saying 240 pounds for 40 beakies, 10 cataphracti, a Spartan, a Contemptor Dread, the two characters, a rule book, a fast play booklet, a campaign booklet, templates, dice, and other accessories.
So like $300.
That's probably going to be the price point then. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually fun fact. Is that a lot? Like, is that a big hit originally? Yes. Is that a really good fucking deal though?
That's a
Also, yes.
2,000 point army.
Yeah. I think we were pricing that out before, I think on the chat. I think I made a salamander list that was like 2,100 points just on that.
Right. Like, I really can't complain about it
Yeah.
if
Oh.
it's even 350.
Actually, so quick fact.
However,
Who knows?
Betrayal Account dropped. I
Oh,
got
I got I got to do research. Anyone off the top of your head how much those Infinity Army boxes are?
300.
Are they 300?
They're about 300, yeah. The
Interesting.
full army in a box, yeah, they're like 300.
Yeah. So you're basically getting. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Because I was
All right.
looking at the next month they have the one for 12, so I was asking how much it was, and that's what I was told.
it does help that both halves of the box is the same, you know, you could use in one army.
Yeah.
Yes.
It
Unlike,
does.
say, Dark
Dominion.
Imperium, it's like, oh yeah, here's my super cool Primaris Marines. I guess you could take the Necrons. Oh gee, thanks, more warriors. But yeah, no, I'm just remembering back when Betrayal at Calth first released, and I was gonna split a box with a buddy, and I somehow wound up getting 3 boxes, all to myself, and that had me set in an infantry horde army, all the way up to like 2,000 something points.
It's,
So yeah, that sounds about right. That's
Yeah.
actually
And
like
that's
it's
for
doable.
$300. That's going to be a really, 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 really good deal.
Well, and look at what they did with Dominion. Look, I mean, I'm not actually a huge fan of Age of Sigmar, but look how much stuff they put in that box at that price point.
yep.
For a limited or semi-limited run, I don't think that's actually an unreasonable amount of money or value.
Yeah, man, we might be seeing a lot of Heresy players, and I'm not even going to complain.
I'm very happy about new players because, you know, with any game system, if you're not bringing in new players, you're just losing them because
Mhm.
everybody has a kid, a new job, needs to move. It just happens.
Sounds like my BFG experience.
Yeah.
Everybody's BFG experience.
All right. I think that does it for us for news because we wanted to keep that a little bit short of for what's going on. So, why don't we start just by, since the three of you were in that Titanicus event, why don't you guys just discuss it and all, and that'll lead us nicely into both running events as well as attending them.
My first Adeptus Titanicus event, also known as the Triumph of Dan.
And
Dan,
to be
you,
fair, that
you
second game was hilariously like I
twist.
rolled. That stupid second game was should never have happened.
Why
I
shouldn't it have
agreed to the
happened?
turn. So this
Okay,
was, mind you,
short version. Dan is a terrible person.
No,
my
Okay.
Okay,
fourth
Sean, now you may say
my
what happened. You may explain it.
my fourth game of Adeptus Titanicus ever.
Oh no.
Um, I agreed to allow Dan to field a War Master Titan at 2,500 points, and then the scenario that we ended selecting required you to destroy 25 percentiles to score victory points. And since the War Master Titan he had ran at about 1,200 points, it meant that I could not score more than 50% kill on his army unless I killed it. And I was running a lot of Warhound. It wasn't going to happen in a feasible game. So
now
the
hold on. To
prop
interject in the middle of the game, I literally go to Steve and like, "Hey, Steve, what's the primary we're playing?" Because I had no idea what the actual primary objective of the game was.
he did help me select it. Like
I, I had
I'm
no
not
idea what.
he had already built his list, but and there's absolutely no hard feelings. I love a good challenge. It was a great game. And honestly, if he hadn't managed to reach out and punch my Nemesis Warbringer down in a single turn in the last round, he wouldn't have won.
Yeah,
It
I
was not a
actually
bad finish.
I think had my Reaver not exploded in the middle of your lines, because that hurt. He didn't do anything but just went nuclear in the middle of your lines. Um,
Now
because that
level with me. Level with me. That felt like it was by design. You even
no,
had a
so it
stratagem for
actually
making it go
wasn't.
nuclear.
I warp jumped him because I wanted to charge him, and then you very strategically put your knights right in front of him. And I knew that at that moment, as when I killed the little knights that like blocked him, I was not able to do anything because he had a warp missile too. He was going to go in, charge, do a power fist. That was his job. But you cleaved him in like almost, I think, a single or two rounds of combat. Like they charged in and almost destroyed him. Um, And then I
Yeah, those
think,
were the Tropos. They had the fusion
yeah.
close combat weapons. They
And
were
then
pretty
I
good.
was just like, all right, I need to wipe them out. And then I think your Warhound shot at him. And at that point, he had like one pip on his body left. And I'm like, well, he's not charging and doing anything. So let's get him into a position where he just goes nuclear. And that's what he did. Um,
They took reactor override codes just in case.
Dan
yeah,
runs
yeah, I
his
did.
Titans
Yeah.
hot. Always. He always runs his stuff
Always.
very hot.
Always.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with knowing who you are.
Yeah. It's a strategy. But I always take warp displacement. I know Sean was laughing in our first game. Because I was like, the Reaver, I think, jumped across the forest, the jungle terrain, which was beautifully done by Steve, by the way. Um,
Actually, I will say that was Lou that put that together. I'm like,
God damn
here
it,
are
Lou.
some trees. Just look. He's like, yeah, man, sure thing. He's like, how does this look like? Dude, that's great.
Yeah, it was
You do a whole other
beautiful, beautiful
set.
terrain. But even the first game, the second game was actually quite close. I think it was like 30 to 33, to be quite honest.
Yeah, because of secondaries and so
Yeah,
on.
secondaries, and the only reason I won was because of the secondaries. I think because I got 5 points for the secondary. Um, but yeah, no, it was a really good game, and the first game was good too. That forest combat was great, and things just died again. But no, it was a good little event. I liked
Now
it.
notice, these two guys are talking about the two games they played,
Yep.
and I'm like, yeah, we had a tournament. So
I got second.
while everyone that had that that went to this event had a great time, had fun and everything, um, a tournament it was not. So
No,
as
no,
an
I got
event,
second place at my
oh
first
that's true.
Adeptus Titanicus event.
Don't take away.
I
How,
didn't win a
As an
single
event,
Wait.
game.
it was a failure. As an experience, I think it was a perfectly fine time. And
so why is that
oh,
for people who are not aware?
why is that which? Why did it fail, or why was it a good experience even if it was a failed event?
Why the fail and why was it a good experience? Either way, we'll go start with one, then go to the other.
Okay, so two things happened. One, I did not advertise the event very well, even within my own groups. Um, so it was like, hey, I'm doing an event, guys. It's in 2 weeks, and then like that's kind of all I did. Instead of I wanted to like a big thing, build up to it, but I just didn't put enough into like reminding people, pushing people, hey, make sure you come, make sure you come, make sure you come. Um, and the other thing is I ended up changing the date of the event at one point to push it back because
Okay.
I wanted to squeeze in a 40K event the weekend before it. No, the weekend after it. So it was a weekend later. It was gonna be the weekend right before, like, sorry, the Saturday right before Easter. I moved it up a week because I'm like, right before Easter. I'm thinking about my demographic, like, they're all, they're pretty much all parents, they'll have families to think about. I should probably, not take up the day before Easter with this. I'll, do the weekend before. Unfortunately, that made like the pre-Easter weekend for everyone. Where like, one guy had, the other half of the family's Easter and all that stuff. So all kinds of stuff with that just made it so that it didn't quite work out. So when you have a date, commit to the date. Generally speaking, that's the way to do it. And advertise. So if I did those two things, probably would have had at least like one more person show up.
Okay.
Um, and that could have at least done like round robin sort of deal.
You had, was it four? Is that how many people you said showed?
Myself and three others, so technically four, but I didn't. I was hoping I wouldn't have to play. I want to get
Yeah.
some terrain stuff done. Um, and then Lou's like, "Nah, man, I played you a million times, so like I'ma just chill." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And we just chilled, chatted, worked on terrain. I think we spent all of what would have been round one just talking about New Heresy. So yeah, it was a great day of games and such. Great day of hanging around. Not a great tournament.
All right.
Although we do have an undefeated Titanicus champion now.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, but like, so that's why I think it failed as an event. Just poor advertisement, changing the date. If you're doing things like that, you're not gonna get a turnout, even if you had, a 3-month long campaign that had 12 players signed up. about a core of 6 people that were very active and another couple that were, still participating, to 3 people turnout. One of which wasn't even part of the main campaign. Like you gotta be consistent on your date and advertise your events even internally. Um, yeah, and it was a great time because one, I had great people come to it. Um, of all people that came, I think that the 3 that did show up were like the 3 that I most wanted to like intermingle and meet each other because I thought
Okay.
that they would like bounce, like their energies would mix in a good way, and I think it did. Um, Dan and Sean finally got to meet after lots and lots of bullshitting back and forth online. If I remember correctly, Dan was all, "Oh man, I can't go to a 30K event all the way up in the Catskills. Do an event in New Jersey, and I'll go to it." And then
And then
Sean's
he
like,
didn't
"Okay, I
show.
will." And then he doesn't show up, and it's like, wow.
Like,
Titanicus event in New York, though. Oh, that's close enough to go to.
as
No, no, no,
somebody
no,
who
no,
lives
no,
in New York, you don't even understand how
no,
much
no, no.
shit I got for taking a bunch of people from my part of New York to Jersey.
Okay, first of all,
Ooh.
you two little shits.
Here you
The
can't even tell me
Prospero
that.
event was like in Catskills, New York, 3 hour fucking drive away.
Yeah, it's far.
Yeah,
And
and
it had like
Mythicos
Yeah.
was
and it had a
45 minutes from you.
I have a 2-year-old and a Puerto Rican wife that if I leave them alone, they will kill each other and then kill me.
So
So
I've got a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a nonverbal autistic 15-year-old, and I go 3 hours to Boston to roll heresy about once a month when there isn't a plague on. And I have a
You have
Comanche
2
wife.
hours to run an event.
So I don't want to hear about how you couldn't make it to Mythicos, you butthead.
I
no, it
think
wasn't Mythicos. This was wait, what? No, this
No,
isn't
no,
the Mythicos
no,
one.
no. The real issue is you didn't go to the Mythicos event,
yeah.
which was 45
Wait,
minutes from you
I
and
don't
2
remember
hours
this
for
one.
Sean.
I
This one I don't remember.
I think he said he
It's
parents
on
Isfon
better
5.
than
5.
you.
Yeah,
I
I
had
don't remember this.
26
Ooh.
people show up for Isfon 5. I had 6 guys who traveled more than 2 hours from upstate New York to be there.
I don't remember this one.
It's because you didn't go to it.
I can't remember.
Right.
No, I was thinking, I don't remember not going to this one. Was this like COVID? Was this COVID pandemic?
No, this was
No,
2 months after Prospero.
this
This was
was like
late
2 months
February?
ago. Yeah, this was 2 months ago, and we
Mhm.
also
It was
had a
just
large
for you.
portion of the New York City crowd came out. Some folks picked up some of them from the local trains. We had one guy who had like no interest in pursuing heresy, but he showed up literally just to help his buddy run an army for the mega battle.
Oh
It was
shit!
a great event. I had 26 people, and we raffled off box of Terminators and a goddamn Spartan assault tank in glorious resin. And I mean, by all accounts, it was a really good time. And we had some beautifully painted armies there. Several people brought Primarchs for the one-on-one battles. I got to see Korax beat the ever-living shit out of people. It was great. We even had a couple of true scalers there, free Tortuga style true scaling. It was crazy.
Wow. Now
It was a
I really
great
don't
event.
remember this.
You
Wow.
didn't go. They already told you that. You don't remember because you weren't there.
No, no, no. But like, I don't even remember this being advertised. Holy shit!
You actually kind of were a little upset because being this Spawn 5, there weren't any custodies there, and you were on the fence about what you had that you could run fluff-wise. And I specifically conversed with you about the fact that there were Mechanicum forces there, and
I
that your
think
Dark
we had
Mechanicum
we
were
had this
more than
conversation.
welcome.
Oh my god! I think I remember this conversation. Oh man.
Oh my goodness, Dan.
We
But yeah,
even
so
had loner arm.
Titanicus in New York suddenly wasn't too far away. But yeah, no, that I think it's great summary though. Like that was a fantastic event. I had a ton of fun. I don't think there was a person in the room that had a bad time.
No, everybody
Sean
seemed
does,
to be doing pretty good.
Sean does run good events. Al, Sean, and Steve do run very good events.
So So why don't we use that to lead us into this main topic? So we kind of split into two different things. We talked about running events as well as attending. So we'll start with running. So I mean, it's been a while since I've done any events. You guys seem like you do a bit more. So we have a bit in terms of the show notes of an order, but if someone has a better order, a better thought process in mind, that's fine. It looks like the current discussion was sort of 3 things to keep in mind when running events. So if you want to start, Dan.
Yeah, no. So I mean, I haven't run an event since COVID kind of put a stop on me running events. Honestly, is what happened. But I did used to run events. Especially when like I used to be a Spartan Spartan Vanguard. I used to run Firestorm Armada events all the time.
Mm.
Because I loved the game. Shit, space battles were fun. Um, so I think for the top 3 for me, honestly, it was terrain, atmosphere, and food. Terrain. Listen, I know it's a pain in the ass. But if you don't have terrain, ask people to bring terrain. People will happily sometimes bring terrain to fill up a table. Honestly, you need to have your own terrain as well. But like, if for example, like when Steve ran his event, right? Steve had
Oh,
a
I
beautiful,
lean
beautiful space
so
elevator.
heavily on Dan. I
But
lean
he, yeah,
so
yeah, I was gonna
heavily
say
on
he had a
Dan's
beautiful
event.
space elevator done, but I brought a majority of the terrain, and I didn't hate that at all. I like that. You know what I mean? And just ask people to bring terrain because they'll do it. People will come together and help you out. And it attracts
Especially
people
for
too.
niche games, like people for niche games, very often in a group, someone's gonna have their personal collection, and as long as it's respectfully treated, they're okay bringing it.
Yeah. And it attracts people who play the game, but it also attracts people who are curious about the game and they just want to see it, you know? Um,
You can't be afraid to make a little bit of a spectacle between terrain and nicely painted armies, because
yeah,
that really grabs them.
yeah. To see, for example, I was playing Dave, right, for the first time ever with my demon army this
Yep.
Friday, right? Um, and to see the demon army and his Necron army painted on the table, just it looked with some good, I mean, pretty good terrain. It's Maplewood terrain, so it's not like we're called terrain kickers for a reason, guys.
Yep.
But uh, I don't know if Dave's laughing in the background. I heard something.
I might
Um,
have a little bit. My stuff's not muted, so
yeah,
just
oh, okay.
try not to talk
No,
too
it's
loud
we're
as well.
called terrain kickers for a reason. So it's not the best looking terrain, but it looks good. It looks good. And with 2 painted armies, that one guy came by. I don't know who he was. I think Dave knew him. But that one guy came by. I was like, "Oh, what are you playing? Are you playing demons?" I'm like, "Yeah, this is my first demon, run through." And he was just asking questions about it.
Are you
You know
talking
what I
about
mean?
the guy who he was later playing Brett in a game? That guy?
So yeah, it was
I
the Space Wolf player, right?
Yes, he does. Well, Brett was playing Space Wolves.
Oh,
He was playing Grey Knights.
oh, Grey Knights.
Or
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
he might have Space Wolves as well. Um,
I think he has.
I
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I just don't remember his name. So if he listens, he can tell me later what
Yeah.
his name is. But I don't
So
recall
sorry
his
about
name.
not remembering, but he came over. He came over, and it's like it attracts people.
True.
And I'd like to
Um,
highlight and underline what you just said there
Absolutely.
because that is a major part of why the local game store is so key in the life cycle of any game, of any gaming community. Because otherwise, who's going to walk by your basement or your spare room and see you doing all of these things with all these beautiful models and this cool terrain and ask you questions? Do you have that many creepy stalkers? Because I don't.
Oh my God, that reminds me. The first time I actually met Dan in the flesh, it was
yes. Oh my
it
god,
was
I should have brought this up.
yeah. So it was pandemic, right?
Perkhammer.
It was early pandemic, so it's like, okay, we don't really want to go indoors anywhere. But it was the summer, it was beautiful weather. It's like, you know what? Let's go to the park, set up a table, and play a game outside. We're still masked stuff and everything. Table's 4 feet, you stand a foot away, now we're 6 feet apart. It's like, safe environment for it was crazy, like we don't know what was going on at the time, like we met up at a park and we had so many people walk by and go, whoa, what is this? Kids, adults, everywhere. It's like, what is this looks
Actually, one of my
awesome.
dreams. I completely
Dance
forgot about
dance
that.
terrain is great,
Yeah,
and he has the
I will
cityscape
put out there.
style, like three-dimensional board itself, like Oh,
Yes, I did have the oh my god, what do they call the game zone tile? Oh my god, I can't remember the company. I know they're defunct now. Um, but no, I would absolutely love to see an event be run outside, like choosing a middle ground park, uh, and bring everyone bringing like picnic tables or 6x4 tables, setting up those fold out tables and just bringing to it. That would be fucking. It's like, having barbecue, beer. That would be an event, in my opinion.
you would want to
I've
have
never,
tents though, just in case of rain.
bro.
You
I
can have
don't
a
think I've
rain
ever
gauge.
seen that happen. I don't think I've ever seen on YouTube or any news, like any news sites
N-
or Goonhammer. I don't think I've ever seen an outdoor event.
You've
Not,
never played Lawn Hammer?
yeah,
What happened,
As
Barkhammer?
a personal
lawn
thing, but not
hammer.
as
No,
like in
Lawn
a
Hammer.
public event though.
No, no,
As a
lawn
person,
hammer though. Like I've played outside my house or apartment, but never like in a park. Like with the barbecue going and like.
Oh, sure, because somebody's dog's gonna eat your friggin' basilisk.
Oh,
I think the other thing you have to keep in mind is like where our location is. I think the same way as when I remember when I was out in the Midwest at one point for something, there was also just a lot more outdoor stuff. Like one of their, I think we were at a mall or something like that, but it's all outdoors. It's a few little things kind of, but it's all outdoors. So certain areas in our country have a lot more of that sort of outdoor atmosphere because of their weather. So I think if you went to the right spots, you might be able to see it.
That's
true.
absolutely fair.
Yeah.
Like in Arizona, they don't get as much freak rain
No.
or weather changes as you might get in, say, Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they really like their AC. They want to be inside.
yes.
Oh, so true.
been to Florida. I hate it.
Yeah. You need to have the
Um,
right weather and infrastructure for that.
yeah. But just
That's why
that
they'd
was
never
a little
happen in the
side
UK.
note because I did enjoy Park Hammer a lot. That was really cool. So that was the first thing, terrain. Second thing you need is atmosphere. And this has happened before. Not an event I run because usually I've learned my lesson to kind of make it clear what we're doing. But definitely atmosphere. Make sure if you're going to when you're running an event, make sure you either make sure it's a tournament or a narrative event, right? Or somewhere in between. You got to make it clear because I've seen someone running and I disagree with the title, by the way, that I'm about to say, so bear with me on this. But I've seen someone run beginner level tournaments, right? I've seen someone bring beginner level tournaments. So you'll have someone bring in their like box set army, and then someone will run Crusher Stampede. So it's like,
Help, I'm being attacked.
yeah. No, but even so, or like, so the specific example I saw, this was back in, oh, for fuck's sake, this was either fifth or sixth edition, and was probably going to correct me in the comments or right now. But it was a beginner level tournament, and I had started playing Grey Knights, but not Drago Wing or anything like that. So I brought in some Purifiers because I really like the way they look. I brought in some Interceptors, I think they're called, the ones with the teleporting backpack. Just really cool,
Yep.
interesting stuff that I'd never bring because I wanted to be beginning a tournament. And some guy brought Drago Wing, essentially. He brought 20 Paladins with Drago, 3 Daconauts.
Oh,
Yep. And it's
Yeah.
just like, and he
those were
won.
dark
Of
times.
course you did.
Yes, single-handedly he won. But it was just like you kind of feel it's like you look at that and you're like, why? Fucking why? So
So
you kind of have to make your shit clear, whether it's a tournament, a narrative. Um, like for example, Sean's events. I know when I'm going to Sean events, I made fucking God. How many lists did I make, Sean? 16,
Eighty
17 lists.
thousand.
At
Yeah,
There were
least.
at least 30,000 of them.
I have run between 16 or 17 fucking lists for this goddamn event on the 30th. And that's just with the custodies. That's not even, I'm not even count the demons. I didn't count the dark mech now. Just the custodies. I have 16 to 17 lists. Each one of them has their own fluffy narrative. Each one of them has some sort of thing that they're doing. And I still don't know which one to bring. I still might change on
You
the last second.
even you even asked for permission for a custom force organization chart so you
Yeah.
can run
I said
just
that's,
2 HQs, and then
I think that
you're
was what,
like
18? I think that was the
maybe
18th
2 hours
list.
later, you were like, what about these other
No, no,
five
no.
ones?
Fun fact, no. I figured out in Mournival the list. It's actually hold on, give me a second. It's 730 points. So whatever that is out of 1250. So that's what, 300, 400, 500 points less. It's a 735 point list. I brought, but fun fact, they're both in the crate right now, ready to go. I brought like it's so weird because it's like I know for this event that it's narrative. He released the missions early, and I just kind of want to be like, I want to be like, okay, they're in a. Why would the custodies be here? Okay, so I'm gonna bring this person, but you know what? I think there's gonna be demons, so maybe there should be a Sister of Silence attachment because that they're really good at taking down demons and maybe psychers. Um, or maybe like, and so you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to a narrative event, I have 16 or 18 lists. Versus if I'm going to a tournament event, I'm taking one list. You know what I mean?
So not,
There's no, yeah,
so you said you don't like the phrase beginner tournament or
yeah,
beginner event.
yeah.
It why is that because the connotation just being
No, no,
like
no, no,
less
no. It has nothing to do with the connotation.
competitive?
No, 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 no. I love the connotation. I love the fact that you're running a tournament for beginners.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. The
The
problem
problem
is
is
human
how to
beings suck.
reinforce it.
Yeah,
Yep.
the problem is human beings suck. That's not like this is just me teaching history. Human beings will game the system whenever chance you get it. 90% of the people that attend those events are going to be beginners. The 10% are going to fuck everything up because you're going to have some asshole bringing,
Or
Harlequin
Sigmar dragons.
or yeah, you're gonna have someone. Oh, I didn't know this was beginner. Or, oh, I just bought this army. I just wanted to try it. I'm a beginner. Meanwhile, he brought fucking 9 Darklands Harlequin Viper bullshit vehicles. You know what I mean? Like beginner tournaments are great in theory, but in practice, I don't think they work because people, not everyone, but people in general sometimes just suck. That's just it sucks that's just how it is. I'm sure people will disagree with me on that,
Well,
but
to some extent, I
The
do.
counterpoint,
Yeah, go ahead. Do yours first, and I'll do mine.
I think that what really is the thing here is what makes it a beginner tournament is not just telling people, by the way, this is a tournament for beginners. I know that we have talked a bit about how prize support needs to be set up. And for me, a big part of what makes a tournament a beginner event, whether it's tournament style or narrative, is that the prize support is geared more towards basic generic units that new players are going to need, and that the painting requirements are either very, very loose or non existent to allow people who are just getting their feet wet to really get into it. It's got nothing to do with um, just like them happening to be new, because you could have someone who's new to the game who's been playing war games for 20 years.
I
On the
mm,
point of prizes, you also could lean towards making the incentive to show up and not the incentive to win by either making it just door prizes and bragging rights or making it raffled prizes. There's a reason
Right,
that
like
I
we
love Sean's events because it's raffle prizes. So it's not like, yeah, I'm going to this 30K event. I'm going to go to this tournament. I'm going to crush all these people, get first place. Like, there's no first place. Like, you show up and maybe, you get a set of dice,
yeah,
you know?
I still have fucking I still have those two. Oh my god, I don't know what to call them. They're framed. From the two heresy events I went to. You
Oh, yeah,
know?
your bragging rights prizes, the best
Yeah.
fluff loyalist, and like,
I can't read it
yeah.
from here because it's too far away, but I still got them. I love them. They have no monetary value. They don't make my army stronger or weaker, but they're really cool. Like they're framed awards. I like it. It sounds stupid, but I like it.
I think beginner style things can work, and I think it could be one like was sort of said there, the way you do prizes, what you do for prizes, making them random. Don't incentivize people to want to bring shit lists. I think the other thing is if you happen to be in an area where even if you try to do that, you're still going to get some tryhards. That's when you talk to people, and maybe that's when you do something what they used to do is more comp style. Okay, I'm also, not only is it how well you do, I'm going to judge what did you bring, because a new player, someone who's newer, either won't be or shouldn't be
Might not know
bringing
what
the
to bring.
nastiest stuff.
No, no.
They won't own it. If you're not
But
chasing the
again,
meta, you're not going to have that.
yeah, it goes back to again, make sure you know what your event is going to be. You know what I mean? Like when I go to Steve's events, I know that they're narrative. When I go to Sean's events, I know that they're narrative. When I go to, what is it called? Leprechaun tournament bullshit 40K thing, I know I got to bring a hardcore list to win. Know what event you're running. It makes sense, right? Just know what you're doing. Have a
Didn't you
goal.
didn't you bring a what is it?
Don't you play Custodes?
Yeah.
You have no right to talk about 40k and being casual.
Listen, bitch. Since seventh edition, I played Custodes. I had to survive seventh, and I had to survive eighth to get where I am. And it's down again. It's nerfed. So I'm fine. People are like selling their Custodes armies, and I'm sitting here laughing my ass off because I'm playing my old 8th edition army again. People need to calm the hell down. Oh, last thing when running events. And this is a big one. And this one, honestly, I didn't think too much of this until I met Steve. I'm not calling you out or anything, but you're one of the main
He
reasons
said
why I
you
put
bring
this
out
on
you have
here.
terrible stuff.
No. The last one, the food.
Okay, so just the way you said that,
Not the atmosphere, not the
I
atmosphere.
didn't think it was a
And that's,
problem until I went to an event that Steve had.
you know,
That's the way
Jesus,
it
that came out
sounded.
horrible. No. Let me explain this. Food. Food is one thing you want to definitely keep in mind during events. I know a lot of people order pizza for lunch, and I know a lot of people like to bring Dunkin' Donuts or coffee, which is fine. That's like 98% of the time. But sometimes you will have the guys with like food allergies or lactose intolerant. Although I always make fun of lactose. I'm lactose intolerant. I don't give a fuck. I will shit my brains out and still eat pizza and ice cream all day, every day. Um, but like you'll have people who are allergic to food. Like I know Steve is kind of allergic to oh fuck.
Everything.
Yeah, everything. No, but there was
Like
one specific
one thing that's in everything, and that'd be corn. Yeah.
corn. That's what it is. Yep.
Oh, you have the
So yeah,
same
he's allergic
allergy
to
that
corn.
Brett's
So I
wife does.
yeah. So if I'm running an event and Steve's there, I'll be like, hey Steve, I know we're ordering pizza, but do you want like literally? Do you want anything else from the pizza place or like anything like anything to like you can eat that I'll order? So just kind of always keep that in mind. It it
Keep in mind
adds to
where
like
the venue is versus places you get food, right? So
yeah.
um like Mythicos Randolph, right, is in the middle of nowhere. If you want to get food, you have to go one way, make a U-turn to go somewhere, take a U-turn to go back.
Whoa,
So,
whoa, 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 whoa,
so
whoa,
at
whoa.
at Randolph, like, people have to really leave the location unless they want pierogies,
Yeah, I
right?
was gonna say they have that sexy
Um,
sandwich place there.
like, that's like the one option there is,
Okay,
right?
the one option, yes,
So
but I was gonna say it's good.
that's why like they'll often like order a pizza or something, right? Or like Toy Biz, same deal. Like there's a Mexican place like 3 blocks, I guess, down. But like if you want like literally anything else, you have to actually get in your car and move to get there. So that's why I order a pizza usually, or I'll get Dunkin' Donuts to last through the day. But somewhere like Mythico Smawa, where it's literally in a shopping center with a pizza place, a Mexican place. There was a Chinese place. There's a Chinese place.
Yeah, it still is. I
There's
think there's a
a Dairy
Korean
Queen.
joint.
There's an entire grocery store, literally all in the same shopping center. Like they don't have to order food because there are options literally everywhere in walking distance. So yeah, your venue and food is also another thing like you got to consider. Like in the mall, you don't have to order pizza. There's McDonald's in the same building. But yeah, no, food's definitely a thing to consider. And with including that consideration, how long you set aside for lunch. If people have
Yeah.
to travel, make sure there's at least an hour for food. They can
Yes.
go, get it, and come back. If you're providing pizza, you could probably cut it down to 30 minutes if the pizza's on time.
But yeah, those are kind of like my top three. I mean, honestly, I did add a fourth, which is just make sure you enjoy yourself. I've seen so many people run events, and they just hate the fucking event, and it brings everyone down. Fun fact: I've never seen it for a narrative event. I've yet to see someone run a narrative event and them being hated. It's usually for tournaments where like the TO just doesn't want to be there. So I find that slightly funny.
I
Um,
I think that's a byproduct of what it is. If you're doing,
Exactly. I know. I'm
yeah,
just kind of laughing because I'm realizing, how either ironic or byproducty it is. But
I think
just
it
enjoy your
comes.
event.
I think it comes directly from the idea of it. If you're running something narrative, you essentially are doing that because you 100% purely enjoy it. Because let's face it, if you're doing narrative, you're not doing narrative with like big prizes. You might not be doing narrative with that much support from, say, Game Store or whatever it is, anything like that. You're doing it because this is something you enjoy. You actually like it, so you probably have a bigger investment in it than or
To
potentially
organize an
bigger
event or
investment in
the
it than someone who's
experience
doing
of
something
it.
purely competitive. But
Yeah, I feel like
I can
narrative
see what
events
you're
are
saying
probably
with
more
that.
selfish because it's I want to see this event, so I'm gonna make it happen. Whereas a
true.
tournament's like, all right, the community wants this, I'm gonna make it happen, so they could all come here, spend money, and roll dice.
Yeah. No, that's true. To some extent, the narrative is partly for you who's running it, not just the players.
Of course, if you're running it, most of the time you're not playing in it. It's kind
That's
of the
true.
catch-22 of the situation. Part
Unfortunately
of
for
why
me, I thrive in the atmosphere and energy of the room more than the actual gameplay. Fun fact. So yeah, I have no problem running narrative events.
fair enough.
I think it's something that because I didn't put my own top three thing in here or anything like that because I just want to kind of come up as I went along. But I think part of it, what I would say in this is you also have to be the person who actually wants to do this, especially to an extent if you do narrative. Your event is going to be terrible, like Dan said, if you're not there, if you're not having fun, if this is not for you. There is some people out there who absolutely, it's not that they don't like playing the game, but they have more fun running the events and putting it together than they necessarily do being in those events. And you had to honestly ask yourself if you're that kind of person. But
Yeah.
all right, who would like to go
All
through
right.
their list?
Sean's next on the note,
Yeah,
so if he wants to go.
Sure, sure. Um, well, actually, I do need 1 second. Everything okay?
that's all right.
Sorry, small children coming through the room.
No, kids
Um,
do that. It's all good.
so when it comes to how I look at events, there are um, several things that I go about when I'm thinking about making events. My experience outside of New York includes the middle of nowhere in western Montana and in Portland, Oregon, and in Denver. And in every case, it's kind of been outside of the local stores. All the stores around here have been very supportive and very helpful. Um, but I haven't really found a home base where I have an ongoing relationship with any of them. But when I'm trying to organize an event in my head, the first thing I need is a theme. And sometimes that's something like the burning of Prospero. I had a picture in my mind of what I wanted that event to be from before the pandemic started. And that helped me decide, okay, how big do I need these armies to be to actually get the right feel? What kind of missions do I need to find or come up with? So on and so forth. And sometimes that theme can be something like that, very historical, or it could be as simple as this is an intro event. So my theme needs to be this is beginner friendly. So we're going to have certain restrictions on units, et cetera, et cetera. But in that same vein, I love making apocalypse scenarios. And apocalypse is always a slug, it's always a marathon. But if you do it right, especially if you have somebody running it, you can make some really amazing narrative moments. You can get objectives that actually do interesting things. Like in 2008, I ran an apocalypse game with 10,000 points of Tyranids versus 10,000 points of Imperial Soup. But every Tyranid unit that died came back. And the more objectives that the Imperium held, the more special abilities that they had to use, like calling in orbital strikes, as long as they kept the comms relay up, and being able to use the resupply stratagem until their ammo bunker was overrun, so on and so forth, to give it the actual feel of no matter what you do, you're going to die. But how long can you keep it alive? How long can you keep it going to give you that sensation of a last stand? Because if we just wanted to play a game, there are so many board games, there are so many video games that need so much less time investment to get to the payoff. So I really feel that when you're crafting an event, you need to make it worth the 200 hours that somebody spent painting their 120 corn demon.
I agree with that. I honestly I hadn't even considered the prospect of not running these things through stores. I guess at least from my vantage point, we're kind of lucky. We've always had a store around us who does do events and is willing to run our events and can house our events. But this idea of like, oh yeah, I might not even be running out of a store. I might not have a good spot. Essentially, I might not have a good spot to do this. It was not something I honestly really thought about.
I was lucky enough over the last winter there. A good friend of mine tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, I got some buddies together and we're talking about getting an Airbnb uh, out in like northern Connecticut. Would you like to come and roll some dice? We're going to do potluck food. Everybody gets their own bedroom, and it's just going to be one long weekend of everyone's vaccinated, lot the room to move around, and bring something zany, try something out, have some fun with it. One of the best weekends of gaming I've had in.
Very cool. I like that.
Now, the flip side of that is based on my work schedule and where I've lived and so on, I've never really been able to get into convention gaming, which I hear can be a blast, but has always been kind of intimidating for me. The schedules are so packed. There are all these people I don't know. I don't understand the expectations. But I know some of the guys that run events at conventions, and they're all really cool guys, and usually pretty laid back guys. Probably not a great line of hobby for someone who's wound tightly, but so it makes me curious, and I really would like to get to Nova or Adepticon one of these days.
I
But that kind of segues into the idea of new players are the lifeblood of the game, and you have to set expectations for them.
mhm.
Um, when I ran the Spawn 5 event there was some grumbling about having a painting requirement.
Wait, what?
There was some grumbling about having a painting requirement.
That's surprising, actually.
And I haven't been able to make it down to Jersey a whole lot. I'm looking forward to changing that. But so we ended up doing it. So if you were part of the one-on-one battles, it was fully painted and based. Good luck. And if you were part of the much smaller, like 1,500 point per person mega battle, bring what you could because we wanted a path to get some new players in that get people who were just starting a forward. So I actually had at least four people who told me that they made new armies just for the event. My local Ultramarine player, Sean Leary, he built and painted a beautiful 3,000 point Iron Warrior force um, just so he could run some Iron Warriors at the event. But not everybody has that kind of speed or free time or ability to concentrate. So I know that we had a guy out of New York City who built a Word Bearers force that had been sitting on his shelf in pieces for a couple of years at that point, and he put it together and he got it on the table. It gave him that extra incentive to like actually make a move on it, so he could have a lore appropriate force for our narrative event.
You're the reason why I got my corn force started, to be honest. You're the reason
I
why
got
I painted my
salamanders
corn.
now.
Yeah.
Right. So you want these events to set expectations, not to gatekeep people, but to encourage engagement. And I get into this debate with folks on the internet, which is itself a stupid idea, but I do it anyway,
Oh no.
all the time, that a lot of what people call gatekeeping and heresy isn't trying to keep people out. It's really trying to keep people properly engaged. Because if you can just throw anything together, if you can just slap anything together or buy a really badly half-assed piece of gray plastic and throw it on the board, how much invested are you in it versus how much are you invested in what you're getting out of the prize table or dabbing on people on the internet or what have you. Like, I want people that are there because they liked their army and they like the people they're playing against, and I want to give them the extrinsic motivation that will let them get the most out of their hobby. And I feel that things like painting requirements and not for nothing, I'm pretty flexible about it, using the appropriate models. And people get all riled up, they get their hackles up because they expect folks to be a lot harder on it than it is. But it's like anyone who's seen my paint jobs, I am a mediocre painter. I do my best, but I'm using techniques from 1998 that I've just gotten slightly better at, you know. And I see all of you folks out there with like the beautiful airbrush jobs and the wet palettes and paints by companies that I'm pretty sure you have to go to the dark web to get a hold of. And it's like I love it. I love seeing it, but I ain't got the time and I don't have the skill. But I'm willing to put in the effort, and all I ask is that the people showing up to the events I'm running do their best to put in that effort too.
I
I like it.
I do like that. I do see, you know, I think it is important if you're trying to grow a community, and that might be a separate topic support, but if you're trying to grow a community, I think there is something to be said for, you know, events without pure all the same sort of requirements. Just because if you are a brand new player, one of the worst experiences in my mind is being told, "Oh, hey, you just got in a few months when you get your your stuff painted and you get to this level where we find acceptable, then you can come and play with us." But
Absolutely.
I think it's important to have a bit of both, especially if your goal is to get more people into it.
No, absolutely. You don't want to cut their legs out from under them.
Yeah.
So, like Steve can tell you that when he came to the Burning of Prospero event, I actually provided 6 loner armies. Two of the gentlemen that were there, one of them had only played 3 heresy games in his life, and another one, it was his very first event.
Oh wow.
We are a community where people hoard models. I had seen closets with enough Battlefleet Gothic in them in the box to like support the entire East Coast. And I know, for example, Dan here
And
has
put two
enough
kids through college.
custodies, right? Like, and Dan here in his custodies alone could outfit 5 people with
Yeah.
full armies.
He
Yep.
could.
So there
He
is no
does. He
reason.
supplies the entire Mythicos, that was Maplewood, Custodes tournament circuit with all their stuff.
Like, whatever works. I'm just saying, like, if you want to have a fully painted event and have a new person there, there are other options between telling them to fuck off and die. Help them.
Jeez. And like I said, I dare say over other, again, I think we mentioned this funny enough when we talked about Horse Heresy or getting into Horse Heresy. I dare say the Horse Heresy community has enough loner armies between us that we can absolutely loan armies. For fuck's sake, I painted a demon army just for the fact of loaning it. I'm not even going to play the fucking thing.
Right, right. You
Like,
know,
I painted
uh,
it to loan out. Literally, the character I made. I don't even know if you saw this, Dave.
I don't think so.
Sean sent me a PDF of the Mournable character thing, um, and it was kind of a pain in the ass to figure out at first. Slightly dyslexic, sadly. So
You
seeing
do
all the
struggle
check
with the
boxes.
reading.
Yeah, no, well, this one sucked a little bit because, with dyslexia, what I learned in my 33 years is that you kind of just sometimes you kind of guess the word and you could kind of guess the general gist of it, which sucks sometimes when you're taking a test, but it's good for just normal reading. But the Mournable shit had like check boxes, and so it was kind of slightly harsh. So I sent it over to Sean, and Sean goes, "Yeah, that looks good." And so I created a whole entire character sheet using I think it's Steve. Steve has this using someone put up like the templates. I don't know how someone found it, but the templates on Microsoft Word for the Horus Heresy books, right? So like the background template, the fonts, the colors, right? And so, for example, I made a PDF copy of essentially my demon in the warp for this event. And I'm not even playing the damn army. I did it because it was just absolutely hilarious, and I thought it'd be cool that if someone was playing my army, they had this. I just posted it on the Discord. They have this awesome, model, this champion of corn to play. Um, that's
Absolutely.
yeah, like
Like that's the kind of passion I love to see. And like I'd like to shout out to the Boston crowd, New England 30K. Tim Devlin is one of the guys that runs there. He's running events at Nova this year, as I recall. And that man has every traitor army except Thousand Sons, but including mortals. And he regularly loans them out to people to get them into the game. And Stephen Land, who I think is one of the founding event organizers for them, he made dozens and dozens of custom character sheets and custom artwork for people because everyone in the campaign they were running out there for years was allowed up to two event organizer approved special characters because they were not doing any special characters out of the actual rules, but they had a system for making your own. So you weren't locked into this or that because it was their game, their subsector, their lore, and he went the extra mile. I still have the character sheet he made for my Jarl up on the wall there because it's just so damn pretty.
shit like that resonates not just with the people who played the game, but I think it resonates also with new people coming in because again, when I was playing you, Dave, and you saw that
Yeah.
person come up and like, oh my god, what is that? Are those demons? I haven't seen someone play demons. I want, if someone comes up during this 30K event and be like, hey, those are really interesting demons. I'm like, you want to play them? Here you go. What? Yeah, here you go. And here's the custom character that comes with it. His name is Raka. Here's his like sheet and his history and why he's here. It's I don't know. It's fun, right? If I was listen, if I was a little kid, like 14, oh my god, the little kid is 14. Jesus Christ.
I'm getting old. Just getting old. Every
Actually,
fucking day.
side 5 second story. I was at Starbucks with my daughter, and someone fucking goes, "Mr. Sevilla, is that you?" Turns out they're a junior in college with their fiance, and I'm just like,
Did you just age immediately like someone handed you like you just drank from the wrong grail? Is that what happened?
started applying for AARP. I had to call AARP and just apply right then and there.
Oh, big oof.
Fuck. Oh yeah, I was like, holy shit. Um, but no, like if I was like 14, 15 years old, right, and I see a beautiful army, because that's what got me into it. The games, I think it was the Games Workshop in Jersey Gardens. For those who are old enough to remember Jersey Gardens having a Games Workshop, or the Games Room in Woodbridge. Um,
Game room
going
store.
by and seeing, yep, and you see those armies. And what had happened was that I passed the Games Workshop in Jersey Gardens. And fun fact, Brian worked in the store, if you didn't
Oh,
know
did
that,
he? No,
Dave.
I did not know that.
Yes, he did. Brian's a local at Maple Abbey. Brian goes, "You want to try a game? Here's my what the fuck did he have? He had I know it's a Chaos Army, and I always forget the damn name. It's the guys in black armor or Black Crusade? No,
The
The
Black
Black
Legion.
Legion.
Black Legion. Yeah, thank you. I know it's Abaddon's old what they became. But yeah, he had a Black Legion army, and he taught me the game, and I was like, and he let me the army, and it felt cool. It made me want to get shit. So, there's something to say that, when you have a community that loans out armies and stuff, it really does make the event nice.
Absolutely.
All right.
Um, and like as a thing, again, if your goal is to have a long-term sustainable group, you do need those new players. So I am happy to, at a new player event, change the normal standards. You don't need to be painted. If you haven't figured out what arms are on one of your dreadnoughts, it's not the end of the world. Just keep it consistent. And because I don't know, maybe I have more social anxiety, but a new a new group, a new game system, a new community can be intimidating to a lot of people, especially one like Heresy that has a bit of a reputation,
Mm-hmm.
deserved or undeserved, for that higher standard. And, it's not the end of the world, but you don't want people to not walk in the door just because they think you might not be okay with them. Talk to them, help them, invite them in.
Yeah, this is probably a gross generalization, but I don't think it's inaccurate that many, I, I struggle to say most, but many wargamers have, some sort of social anxiety or something else like that, where you might want to be part of that community, you might want to join them, play games with them, but you don't know how to get in. And I have absolutely gone to stores where you don't feel welcomed at all. Like you walk in the door and essentially no one even notices you. You're not sure how to talk to people. Maybe you go hang out near a table to try to get conversations going. It just doesn't occur. And if you're trying to run events and trying to get more people in, and that should always be your goal, you should always want new players in, then you want to try to be accommodating in what way works best for you and your event. And
Absolutely.
I
Yep.
haven't attended any of these, but the ones that you've done, but it does make it sound like, oh yeah, it's something I could actually go to, try out, and it feels like it would actually be okay that I'm not at that level.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
So,
great
like,
example, an event you could go to is there's one on Saturday. This place called Toy Wiz.
if
You're
it
coming in
wasn't
super
already
low,
sold
Steve, right there.
out,
Didn't hear you.
No, I was saying you should come to the event on Saturday. We have some loaner armies available.
I
We
knew
don't
it.
have a
I
we don't
was
have a
waiting.
table available, but we do have the cardboard Zone Mortalis tiles from Necromunda. We can set them up, give you a demo game, and teach you the ropes with this cool thing called Horus Heresy.
the sold out event.
It is a sold out event, but we always have folding tables.
I was say I
So,
can't tell if my
I was gonna
wife
say
is
Toy Wiz is
awake over
massive.
there. Because if so, I don't actually know if I have anything this Saturday. I know she has an event Sunday for her business. I don't actually know if there's anything Saturday.
Not as far as I thought, too. That's the weird thing. So Toy Wiz is weird for those. I don't know who. I know people listen from different countries and stuff. Toy Wiz is like such a weird location for me because you hear New York and it's like it's New York City or it's upstate New York, but Toy Wiz is like on the legitimate border of New Jersey and New York, scarily so. So it's
That's
only like half an
Rockland
hour
County
for
for
me.
you. It's like everyone that lives in Rockland County like commutes to the city for work, right? But they don't identify as a New Yorker city-wise because I don't live in this city. I just work there. I'm the real New York, but like that's all of New York. They all think they're the real New York.
So will they get angry if I say that they're not actually the real New York and that they're fake New Yorkers?
Yes. They will also get extremely upset if you call them upstate.
Well, I was
Like
gonna say,
they will
isn't
throw hands
isn't
if you call them
Catskills
like
Catskills is just southern Canada.
no. I grew up in Montana. That is southern Canada. The Catskills is West New England.
West New England, Jesus. I called South Jersey up. South Jersey is Upper West Virginia.
Actually, quick
Oh.
little aside for a moment here. I don't know if I told you guys. Did I tell you what our top 3 countries are for listeners?
No.
No.
Who listens to
What do you
us?
think is number 1? Number 1 should be obvious.
The
Okay.
US.
The U.S. is number 1. What do you think is number 2?
Okay, US. It's got to be the UK.
Okay. What do you think is number 3? You're not gonna get this one. What do you think is number 3?
Indonesia.
And it's not Canada.
Japan.
No.
Japan.
No, that'd be cool though. But no, it's not Japan.
The
It is Finland.
fuck?
I don't know why. Apparently, there's at least a big I can't see by which episodes and all, but that is actually our 3rd most popular. And some
Bro, my Finnish
months,
people. Hey, how
some
you
months
doing?
it's actually beaten the UK.
Huh.
When we do a lot of Titanicus content, it beats the UK.
That's
You guys have
That's
great
interesting.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's people using VPNs. It has to be people. Because
I don't know.
maybe it's
It
Finnish
could be.
people leave a
I can.
comment.
Sometimes you can distinguish when it's a VPN versus not because it gives you this random thing, but it's either VPN or whatever. It's like enough where I would say it seems a little too much to be just 100% VPN, but maybe.
Bro,
But
that's
that's what I thought
awesome.
was. Yeah, it's Finland for some reason.
Huh.
So good. So we did you have any other main points to what you were saying there, Sean?
No, just envision a theme, keep an eye out for new players, and honestly, I do have a third point, and that is that how you motivate people matters. And that is why I do prize support, because everybody loves winning prizes. But I do them through a raffle system. And there are other ways of doing it. But what I have found is if you disconnect winning games from getting prizes, it cuts out the idea that I need to make sure that everything is as rules lawyered as possible. And rules lawyer is a bit of a dirty word, but it reduces that stress
Yeah.
because, that $200 box is not actually dependent on the conversation I'm having with my opponent right now about line of sight. So we can just talk about it because there's no extraneous factors between does that look good or not? And I think that's really important to the community aspect. And one of the things that I like about the large number of narrative events that they have in Horus Heresy is that community aspect. And especially with 2.0 dropping this year, I think that as a community, that's something that we really need to keep our eye on is how we're rewarding people for their involvement and making sure that it's in ways that incentivizes them to be engaged in the community in a positive way.
No, agreed. I mean, we're obviously taking a little bit more of what I would call event focus rather than tournament focus. I mean, these can be tournaments, of course, but not necessarily towards that large scale competitive form. I mean, if it's
Oh,
super
sure.
competitive, that's another thing entirely. But for this stuff, yeah, no, I 100% agree.
I mean, even with tournament, there are other ways of doing things. I have been to tournaments where you were rewarded with prize support not based purely off of winning games, but through accomplishing certain things.
Yep.
Like, did you kill the enemy warlord in melee? Did you X, Y, or Z? They've all been wildly different, honestly, but there are ways of getting people to incentivize the epic battle that really gets folks going.
That's team tournament at Adepticon. Is that some people go in there
Right.
to win, other people go in there to get the prize for doing this ridiculous thing, whatever it may be, killing the most characters or something like that.
I've even seen tournaments where they had like a first place prize and the it really wasn't your day, buddy prize for last place.
Oh yeah,
My
That
God,
was
we have
just
an
Maplewood we
Got a
always did
Stannis
smoking
award.
boots.
Wooden
Any
spoon.
tournament, no
smoking
matter how small,
boots.
has that.
Yep.
right.
Maplewood, we have smoking boots.
Yeah. Oddly enough, one time we did a Malifaux tournament. One Malifaux tournament we did there, I did like real well, won the tournament. The next time, I actually got last place, but I also got best painted because we usually in this tournaments like to do painting awards as well. And what the
Awesome.
guys laughed about afterwards, they said you actually got more prize support getting last place with best painted than the person who won. I said, yeah, I'm like, because we put emphasis on those other things, especially like painting to be good and last place. Hey, you should get give you something to keep you motivated. So I thought
That's
that was funny.
great.
Yeah. But all right. How about you, Steve? What are some of these key features you think when you're trying to run an event?
All right. So for me, it's the who, the when, and the how. Right. So who? Who are you trying to get to come to
You're a
your event?
little bit
Right.
low.
Oh, sorry, my microphone moved away from the face.
That's okay.
Um, who are you trying to get to come to your event? You know, like if you want something competitive or if you want something casual. How do you target to get the audience you want, right? So let's say you have a community of like 100 people, right? Too big, too small, whatever. You have 100 people, right? And like, 50% of them are competitive and they try really hard. Their emphasis is on, performing well and winning games, right? And the other 50, their thing is more about, just rolling dice, having fun, and they maybe, some of them are less experienced, some of them are just, they're just relaxed about it, right? Whatever it is, right? They just have like this split where it's like, people are trying really hard and people are just kind of showing up, right? If you have the wrong mix of those people, no matter what, the event is not going to go over well for everyone. And a big enough event, it never will go well for everyone. We want to get as many people happy as you can, I feel, right?
Hmm.
So if you're running like a hardcore tournament, right? But someone that's coming to your event does not understand it's a hardcore tournament, they're gonna walk away and go, "Wow, that Steve guy, he runs a really fucking shitty event. Everyone that goes there is a fucking tryhard, and oh my god, like this guy follows me for half an hour about line of sight." Like on the other hand, like if you have a casual event, right, and someone comes in and they're fighting about line of sight because they want to win the event, and it's like, dude, it's a casual event, calm down, like just do this. Maybe a casual person with here's a big one, right? In a more competitive environment, calling over a judge is not a character judgment of your opponent. It's a, hey, this is unclear. We want a third party to come in and just settle this so that we don't have to argue about it, right? Because, we're on a clock, we only have so much time to finish our game. You just want it to go as smoothly as possible, right? In competitive scenes, you call over a judge to check a line of sight, check a range, check is this terrain properly placed? Am I interpreting this rule right? Yeah. In a more casual setting, calling over a judge, it feels different. It's like, I'm not trusting your judgment of this. Like I don't think you're here to, share the experience. So the, understanding who is at an event and who you're trying to get at the event, it makes a difference in the takeaway from it. Like this weekend, Battle for Salvation team tournament. I called over a judge, I think, every single game at least once. Just like, hey, I just want to make sure I'm understanding this interaction correctly. Can I do this or can I not do this? I think I can't, but I just want to make sure for a fact that I can't do this, or just to check, is this terrain feature line of sight blocking or not? Like things like that. Like it's why there's 3, 4, 5 judges at events that size. It's not because they're expecting someone to be a dick that bends the rules. It's to just resolve those kinds of disputes like that. And as long as you understand that that's the culture of the event, then you're not going to feel put out by someone calling over a judge.
Now, that being said, I will say that that's why when I do narrative events at any level, at any stage, I am always bouncing between tables to proactively ask people how things are going, to check on things, because then it's not your opponent who's calling over the judge. It's the judge coming over and being like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah, I like that.
Very true. That's also why when I love organizing events, get to bounce around and interact with everyone rather than being tied down to a table. So yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Then we have the when. Like I was talking about for my Titanicus tournament, the when can make a big difference, especially if you change the when. So you need to make sure what the other events that are happening in your region at that same time, right? Like if you're like an hour away from Adepticon, running something on the same weekend, odds are you're going to lose a lot of people to Adepticon, and your turnout it's not what you would initially expect just from your usual, your typical events. Um, you also have to consider, holidays that are around that time. Like, will people be going on vacations? Will they be with their families? Things like that. And what other events you've run or, the community's run recently. If there's 4 weekends in a row where someone wants to go to all the events, but they don't have, you know, the ability to dedicate 4 separate weekends to going to your events, like they'd be like, listen, I gotta pick and choose. I can't do everything. So you don't want to oversaturate people either. So when makes a difference. And lastly, the how. How will you attract people to your event? How are you going to secure the necessary resources like terrain, prizing, a location to host it? How are you going to, incentivize people to meet whatever metrics you're trying to get, whether that's, um, how technical they play, how painted they are. Like, how do you Just how? It's kind of cheating leaving it so open ended. I feel, but
They're
it,
important questions to
well,
ask yourself if you're going to run
yeah.
something, rather because it it and I mean this is something I don't know. We've gotten into a bit, but I think it's something especially to consider is, you're thinking about running an event or you want to run one of these things. If you don't have good answers to the very basic questions, you probably shouldn't be running something. Like you don't have enough of it put together, because the last thing you want to do, especially if you're running out of a game store, especially if this is like maybe one of the earlier events of that or your first inaugural event, is you don't want it to go poorly. And maybe not getting a lot of people, that might not be poorly. That kind of depends on the store. They might be fine if like you only get a couple people. Like that's just how it goes sometimes. But if it actually runs where like people don't enjoy themselves, you're not going to be running anything there again. So
Absolutely. I've actually been watching that kind of blow up in central New York. There was a gentleman who confessed at some point to sabotaging his events by throwing them together at the last minute,
what?
not doing prize support, not telling people about things, specifically to make it just really a bad experience for folks because he didn't like the store he was running for.
Oh my god.
And like it's been so
That
much
is
drama.
wow.
It has been so much drama, and I'm so glad I am just far enough away from it that I know a couple of people that were not involved in any of this, and I've been hearing the feedback through like their Discord servers and so on. It is terrifying.
That is next level. Now I'm a normally petty person. Like I pride myself in being a 14-year-old girl. Because I teach middle school. No. See, you guys are laughing, but I am.
No, I'm
I
laughing
like.
because you're a 14-year-old girl. I understood that.
Yeah, no,
I
exactly. No,
got
I
that
am a petty
reference.
little shit. I will go out of my way to get someone who has hurt me or mine. But that is like shit. that's that's next level petty.
I've never heard of that before. That is the craziest thing I've ever heard.
That is insanity.
Wanting
Yeah,
it all to
no,
burn it down.
Imagine just just not running an event instead.
right?
Like
Right?
Jesus Christ.
Like,
It's
oh, sorry, my schedule, I can't run anything for the next 3 years. You'll have to find someone else.
like it's
Or,
it's
this isn't
active
working for me. I
sabotage.
can't do this. Like, that's wow.
No,
Yeah.
no. And the
I'm
poor
like,
That is
okay,
the
guy
problem, depending
that
on how
is
you
it
push
dick?
for an event.
Absolutely.
Like you could be like, this is a Sean event. Oh, okay, cool. Versus, this is a Toy Wiz event. This is a Maplewood event, right? So like, I get how that could be a thing someone decides to do, but at the same time, like, wow, that's
I mean, listen, is it a dick? Like it's a dick move, but I have to appreciate the ingenuity on that one. That's like Cold War level sabotage right
You,
there.
you do not have to appreciate the ingenuity on I'm gonna
no,
burn it all to the ground.
no, because and honestly, like it's ruined several people's
Oh, then never mind.
reputations. It's destroyed a decent chunk of gaming community out there. There's a lot of bad feelings. Like
Oh shit.
I really feel for everybody involved in it, and I don't know enough details to give you anything solid,
Yeah.
unfortunately, because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus.
No,
Of
of
course.
course not.
No, yes.
Like, but just know that Central New York has not been okay since like January, and
Wow.
Jesus
it is
Christ.
rough. Um, so I'm glad we're over here with people who have normal level of pettiness, like flipping off the guy that cut them off.
So Jersey State
no,
Bird is the middle finger.
flipping someone off, cutting you off is actually a very mild response, I feel,
Right, right.
for our area. Normally it's one of us is going to the hospital, and I don't intend on it being me.
That's New York City.
Yeah.
The real New York.
And you cut someone
Hey,
off
you
in New
watch
York
that. We have
City?
mountains and trees that grow more than 10 feet tall in real New York.
I can't hear you from all the way in upstate New York.
Can you actually cut someone off in New York City? Wouldn't the
I
traffic
don't think you
actually have
can.
to move in
I think
order for you
so.
to cut someone off?
I think that's just called
Mm-mm.
manslaughter because you're gonna hit the curb. Oh man.
All right. I think the next thing we had listed was some examples of good events that you've run and some examples of unsuccessful events. So I know Dan at least wrote something down.
Yeah, so no, this was real quick. I think one of the more successful events I've ever run were the actual Firestorm Armada events. I think one of my favorite events that I've actually ever run was a Firestorm Armada event. It was the first ever tournament I ever ran. I had no idea how to run a tournament. I was never a TO, but I did it for Firestorm Armada because I was a Vanguard and I loved the game. And we had 20 people show up. We had 10 tables. I don't know how the hell we did that in Maplewood. We set up. We had to use the painting table as a play table. But we set up fucking 10 tables of space terrain, a planetary terrain. I know Dave printed some stuff. I still have your stuff too, by the way, Dave.
Yeah, the terrain that I made, yeah.
Yeah. Like we set it up and it was a fun day. Not a single I mean, there was one salty person, but he's known to be salty. I'm not gonna say the name, but if I say the name, you would know exactly who it is.
All right. Type it into the
That's not
Discord
how
when you
names
get a
work.
chance.
Hold on, no, here. I'll do this just so it's live. Okay, on the there's the name.
Okay. Well, now I gotta go figure out which one you put it in.
Titanicus.
Monster. Yeah, we have an episode discussion. You put it
Titanicus
there.
is just-
Okay.
Well, remember, he couldn't find it.
Yeah.
He couldn't find. He can find it now. I don't remember him being salty, but if you say so,
Yeah,
but that was a
no,
bit ago, so I don't remember all the details. But I believe
Exactly.
you.
That
I
was the
100% believe
only-
you.
Yeah, that was the only one. But honestly, most people that were having fun. We were all laughing. It was a great time. We had prize support. We had painting support. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. That was a really successful thing. And I felt real great about running it. But then sometimes you can't take stuff personal because then you run shit events. So I think one of my shittiest events, and I think Steve came to this one actually,
Yeah.
was the Titanicus event in Maplewood, where I advertised it. It said 16 people were coming, but it ended up only being like 4 people that came. And I even set up I set up like 8 tables worth of terrain. I labeled terrain. I had the narrative all ready to go. But really only 4 people showed up, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess it's just us 4. Let's have
I
some
got
games.
cheated out of a third round of games. I went all the way down to Maplewood to play 3 games. Only got 2.
Yep.
Jokes on Dan. I had an entire league of Titanicus.
No, but it just felt bad. Like I felt really shitty about it because it's like you don't want that. You don't want the failure to happen because you want people to have a good time, and if people don't shut up, that's beyond your control. You know what I mean? They pressed. They're going on Facebook. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like they pressed maybe. They pressed. They're going on Facebook,
That's
and sometimes
the worst metric though, because it's just like, yeah, I pressed the button. That's why that's why
exactly.
the Jersey Heresy guys, they make you pay up front. Like, you're paying for this event.
Yep.
Once
Sean
you-
makes it.
Almost everything
you're paid. And I'm sorry, unless there's an extenuating circumstance, like you paid, you don't get a refund, you give up your spot, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
you gotta
And,
have that commitment of here's my 20, 30, whatever dollars.
And there are a lot of really valid to back out where I would be happy to toss somebody a refund. But we had one guy back out of ZM, and before I could even consider offering it because it was several weeks ahead of time, we have interest to fill the spot. He just said, "No, keep it for price support. Like, have a nice life," and that
Wow.
was really cool.
Tops off right there. That's some good shit right there.
So, now on that note of bad events, like the one thing that ruins an event for me, whether it is as a player or an organizer, is deliberate cheating.
Oh yeah.
And back in the heady days of 4th edition, we had a guy that played orcs, tyranids, and dark angels. And at one event, he got called out for Initiative 4 orcs, which I don't think have ever been a thing.
No.
Never.
Um,
I can actually tell you that.
so he switched to his Tyranids for the next several months, and at one event, he brought in a list, and I don't remember if you guys, or I don't know, excuse me, if you guys remember Army Builder by Lone Wolf
Oh
Development. It was one
yeah.
of the
Yeah, I remember
first.
that.
You can make your own custom
Right.
units
And
very easily in there. So
Well,
let me guess.
he didn't just create custom units. He went into the Tyranid army list and zeroed out the cost of every single biomorph. So
Why?
he had a
That easily
validated
bring up
list
400 points.
at a 2,000 point tournament. Yeah, yeah. So he
Holy
had a
shit.
validated list with an EO approval stamp on it. And the only reason he got caught is the head event organizer. I was just helping out on it. The actual guy in charge. His girlfriend was there. She played Tyranids. She put her army across from him and she looked at it and she said, "That's at least 2,400 points." Over half the units in their armies were the same. She knew exactly what she was looking at. She called her boyfriend over. She sat down with the list and she said he didn't pay for a single death spitter, not a single wing, nothing.
That's some brazen shit right there. To actually
Oh,
go
yeah.
in and alter the files,
Hold on.
like
It's
malicious
not as crazy.
intent.
No, Dave.
Yeah.
We have our own version of that story. Not the
Okay.
altering the files, but that level of cheating.
Okay. I'm listening.
I mean, no, we're not mentioning names,
Okay,
but
then don't mention the name. He didn't either.
yeah, okay, no, like the when we were having. Oh, I don't think Sean knows this story. I know Steve does.
I'm not
So
sure
we were
I know this
having.
story. Keep going.
Yeah, yeah, you do.
All right.
So we were having our team tournament in Maplewood, and this was. I'm sorry, not even a team tournament.
Oh,
I
yep. It happened
apologize.
before.
It was a
I'm blind.
It's not called a
Double.
team tournament. What the fuck is it
It was
called?
a doubles.
Doubles tournament. Thank you. It was a doubles tournament, and I love doubles tournaments. Right, they're great. So I paired up with a good opponent. So we had this one kid who brought in a fully painted Black Templar army, um, and he's a good guy. Um, Kind of socially awkward, but a good guy overall.
I don't think I
And he
know
gets
this.
paired with let's call him TFG. He gets paired with TFG. TFG is playing a 1,000 port Harlequin army. Okay. And by the way, for those of you who are listening at home, this is back when Harlequins, not Harlequins, sorry. Oh my God, what are they called?
Normal Eldar?
Yunari. When characters could block characters, and Yunari, and if someone died or took a wound, they can move forward, right? So he
Yeah.
had 1,000 points of just characters. However, it wasn't 1,000 points because he looked at his, buddy's list and he goes, "You're not bringing that." He goes, "What do you mean you're not? I'm not bringing that." And he goes, "You're bringing this," and he pulls out the other half of his Yunari list.
Okay,
And
now I know what
then,
you're talking about.
yep. And so he forced his partner to play the second half of this Yunari list. To then, basically, his partner was like rolling a little bad sometimes. He basically took the dice away from his partner and said he wasn't allowed to roll the dice anymore because I'm taking permission away from you to roll the dice. Right? Now, this is on top of
Like
this.
he even has the permission to give.
Yeah, well, it gets. Hold on. It gets worse, Sean. Um, During, I think, second or third round, um, he goes finally back to his buddy. He goes, "All right, I'm allowing you to roll this dice now." And then on top of it, the TFG person, is known to also just. I wouldn't say cheat, but
I would
I
say
think the
cheat.
word. His big thing is misremembering a lot of things, which is cheating, pretty much.
Conveniently works in
You're
this game.
conveniently misremembering, and also wonderfully taking smoke breaks in the middle of your tournament game during your turn, so that you time out, but he doesn't. So, I mean, but we handled him quite well. I don't know how you handled Mr. Cheater in your story, Sean, but we handled our cheater pretty well.
Well, he's banned.
But that absolutely ruins an event. That absolutely 1,000% ruins. Actually, no, that's not even how we handle him. I hope he doesn't mind me using his name. I'll use this one. John just implemented a clock during the tournament. And he goes, "All right, I'm going to have a smoke break." And John goes, "All right." And he tries to turn off his time. And he goes, "What are you doing? This is on your time. Go take your smoke break." And so he forced the tournament clock to be on this dude's smoke break. He ran out of time. He like by like John had like 45 minutes left to his 0. And he goes, well, that's not fair. And he goes, well, don't take a smoke break during my turn.
If you take
honestly,
a smoke
this
break
is
during my
why I like
turn, I
clock.
still get to do my turn. You just don't get to
Well,
see
no,
it.
it's you take the clock and you put it on their on their time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You go,
it's
you know what?
ridiculous.
Okay, take your smoke break. Click. I'll just wait for you to come back.
Yep.
Because when you show up to an event, you have only so much time to play through your round. At first, I was like, I don't really like clocks. I have a lot of miles in my army, blah blah. But then I actually tried a game on a clock. I'm like, oh, I'm only like 15 minutes off from actually finishing a game. All I gotta do is know my shit a little better. Figure out, how I want to do my turn a little faster, and it's not that bad.
I'm going to throw out there, if you want to run apocalypse events, you have to have a clock.
Oh,
Oh
most
yeah, no,
definitely.
Yes.
you'll spend 4 hours on deployment for Apocalypse. Just put it that way.
No,
Wait.
no, you set it up, you get the dice rolls off, and then based on the size of the event, they have X number of minutes, never more than an hour, to fully deploy. And if you can't get it on there, it's in reserves. It'll come on later. And then you want to like do an hour and 15 minutes for the first turn because it's a 15,000 point game, that's fine. But each turn after that gets a little shorter, and that's
Wait.
just how it be. You
People actually
prioritize.
people actually deploy on the table more than
Oh,
like
shut up,
20
Custodes,
models.
man.
Well, and there's another
I
thing.
played a game against Dan, and he painted like 4 whole miles while I was just pulling my troops
He
out
did
to
3.
deploy them.
I've done
Was
that
it 4
before.
or was it more?
I mean, if you spray paint and dip, that's not really that's saying a
No,
lot.
no, no. I legit, poor, I don't think Sean, I legit painted 3 Caladius
Oh,
tanks
his
with
Caladius tank.
transfers while he was deployed.
To be
How
fair, I had a
big
really
was
small
that?
deployment zone to fit, what, 4 or 5,000 points of Iron Warriors infantry? I'm like, oh god, I'm running out of physical space. Like, I guess I could stand on top of this crate with my missile launcher squad. Oh god, they're gonna get shot off the table turn 1.
They didn't. They blew up a Telemon.
They did,
Little
yeah.
shits.
No, they immobilized one,
Oh,
which is
they
even worse.
mobilized it. That's right. Oh, fucking Christ. God damn it. But yeah, no, I literally painted 3
Yeah.
tanks while he was deploying. And it was quite Sean got to, Steve got to experience the true quick paint that I tend
Like,
to do sometimes.
in heresy novels, they put this emphasis on, transhuman dread. Like a space marine's this massive thing, it should not move as fast as it does, right? Like it just freaks you out, right? That's Dan painting, dude. I get transhuman dread watching Dan paint. Just bam, 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 bam. Painted. Wait, what? Ow. It's not like he's just dipping and flicking, like he's actually like painting. It's just that fast.
To
And
be
it's
fair, it's because
solid tabletop standard.
it's because I've painted so many custodies at this point that like I've memorized where shit goes. But the tanks were just like I don't know how I did it. I go into like a trance state. That's why I painted. How do you think I fucking painted 50 goddamn bloodletters? Right? I put 50 out on the table, and in 4 days they're done. Because it's just like I sit there in a trance state, and I'm like, all right, this goes here, this goes here, this goes here, this goes here, this goes. It's weird.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I'll talk about successful and unsuccessful real fast. So successful events, there's 2 events that, well, I guess you could call it 3. Um, so probably my favorite, most successful event would be the first Battle for the Elevator event. That had a
Yes.
lot of people show up for it. Everyone had it was an on the fly. Like it was not on the fly, but like I had ideas. It was like, hey, guess what? Elevator trunk's falling down. Watch out. Like it didn't play out exactly how I thought it would, but like it was great nonetheless. There were some things I wish I could have done better with it, and for the second version, I did improve those things. Unfortunately, I think the second go around had less turnout. I'm trying to remember, but I think the first one like really captured it the best. Um, yeah, the Titanic elevator battle event, probably my favorite event. My obviously the campaign was a thing that I would consider a success. Other thing that I did that was like really great um, was Space Marine Draft, right? So I'm chilling after hours at Toys one day, and the guy's like, "Huh, can you do a 40K draft?" It's like this guy does magic, right? And we're all trying to figure, like, how to get 40K going again post pandemic. Um, no, because you gotta build and paint and things. Sometimes like, yeah, good point, good point. And like a month later, I'm like, oh my god, I got it, I got it. You do a draft for bits, and you build your own custom character. Have a ton of loyalists and Chaos Space Marine bits. Mix them all up in baggies to blind open packs, right? So take out a bit, you pass the little bowl of bits to the left, and you do that. And then you get your second bag, you open it, and you pass to the right, just like Magic Draft, right? And then you build your Space Marine, paint them, come back in 2 weeks with them, and we're gonna have like a battle royale or a little ladder tournament, and figure out who's got the best result from it. And the guy's like, "It's genius, I love it." So we run this event, and it was a ton of fun. Um, Something I'd love to do again. Unfortunately, I burnt through a lot of my cool bits the first time around, and I don't feel like buying boxes just to get like one shoulder pad. But definitely something I'd like to do again once I find more cool 3D printed bits to play with. And then, unsuccessful events. I've had a few 40K tournaments that didn't really fire because, like, four people show up. It's like, all right, well, we'll all play each other, I guess. And yeah, that'll be that. Titanicus event. I had a good time. But I would not call it the event as an event a success. And, even when it doesn't turn out, you gotta be like, okay, these guys they came here. I'm gonna give them something at least. That's why I always make sure, even if I don't intend on playing that day, I have an army with me, so no one's stuck sitting around doing nothing. I always just make sure you maintain a good atmosphere, even if your event is going completely down. Make sure the people that show up can walk away going, okay, I got something for my time. Because sometimes dudes will travel an hour to play games. Sometimes they'll travel 2 hours to play games. Like, and you
Yeah.
gotta respect it.
All right, and we feel that probably ends this part of the discussion we wanted to have for tonight. So, any sort of closing thoughts, gentlemen, on trying to run a good event?
I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, just have fun with it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's you're supposed to be your event, you know. If you're not gonna have fun running the event, you're gonna be there grumbling. It's not something you wanted to do. Then why do it in the first place? You
Yeah.
know, yes, you're there to entertain other people and kind of bring other people in, but it's also, maybe it kind of sounds stupid, but you're kind of like a vampire sucking off of other people's happiness. Enjoy their happiness because their happiness is kind of, your happiness.
A little what we do in the shadows reference. I like that.
Yes. Oh my God, someone got
Of
it.
course, I got
I've been
that.
watching that.
Yeah,
Oh, so I've been watching it
yeah, an
recently,
emotional
and
vampire.
yeah, exactly.
I did stage crew in high school, so like I totally get it. It's like there's the actor up at the front, but like the applause, it's you made the show happen, so you get satisfaction just
But
knowing that it worked.
they when you have joy from someone else having joy.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful
Well,
personally,
that's
make
robots.
sure whatever you. Damn it.
Don't worry, you're back.
You're back.
You're right.
Yeah, no,
Give it a shot.
It's so weird. You come back at like the one word.
Make sure you don't burn yourself out.
Yeah,
yes.
there we go.
And that, in my mind, that also includes, asking for help. We mentioned earlier, train, you want to have great train and all of that. Because at least for the games that we're talking about, you need it. There's nothing wrong with, especially if it's a store, they have train. If you have some of your own, there's nothing wrong with saying to some of the people ahead of time, we've done this before, like, hey, we want to have a train day. you know the store's gonna maybe help out getting some of the items, or maybe different players will, wherever it may be, but we're all gonna get together and put train together because we want to be able to run and have good and fun events. Lean
Oh,
on
I
your
incentivized
community.
that so much
Yeah.
for the campaign. Like I think I gave equal, if not greater, points for time spent working on terrain for the club as for making your own titans ready. And both of those I made more important than the actual games, like winning the game. So playing a game got you 2 points. Being painted got you a point. Winning was just another extra point you got. So like playing and painting is worth just as much as playing and winning. So you might as well get it painted, right?
Yeah.
And then terrain. You spend 2 hours on terrain. Well, there you go. Have some points. And like when I ran the event, and Dan brought what was it, 3, 4 tables worth of Titanicus terrain. 'Cause, like, you had like drop zone commander stuff, actual Titanicus stuff, like all kinds of terrain he brought. I'm like, hey man, we're doing a bid raffle system for the prizing. Here's some extra tickets. Thank you for helping out with the terrain. Since you're not in part of the overall league, and everyone else earned extra tickets for league stuff, here's some extras for helping sure this event actually was able to happen. I think I waived his entry fees too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, work with the stores if you're doing out of store, and work with the community members, that are attending. But all right, I think that'll do it for us tonight. So I will. And as always, we want to thank you for listening. Next week, we should be returning with our normal every other week Titanicus, where we are now up to the last set of the last 4 Legios for the Trader's book. So our hope is to be able to go through that. As always, then, since I did my sort of plugs at the beginning of the show, have some good hobbying and some great gaming.